You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1286 1286 Chapter 302, Eternal Notoriety, Monthly Subscription, 4. The Xia family was unwilling to let the polytheistic literature department disappear, so there was a stalemate and struggle for decades. Until today, the Xia family, for the sake of Xia Long's martial Tao, perhaps they will give in. As for whether they will use the polytheistic literature department as the price, I'm not sure. However, if the Xia family really gives in, your grandmaster might be given up. He said calmly, not only your grandmaster, but your teacher Lu Wenyan might also be summoned back to the great Xia manor soon. Because in the heavenly battlefield, with the great Qin king around, the Xia family cannot use Lu Wenyan as the price to gain some support. But once they return to the great Xia manor, the Xia family can sit on the sidelines and watch. Su Yu's heart was in a mess. After a long while, he said, "Manor head, if my teacher and grandmaster come to the great Ming manor." Zhu Tiandao was silent for a while. "I can ask Hong Tan to come, but Lu Wenyan can't. He inherited some things from the 5th generation Yi Batian and is a thorn in the eyes of the 10,000 clans. If Lu Wenyan comes, Daming Mansion will soon fall into chaos. And Lu Wenyan might not come. His master is Yi Batian. He won't leave the great Xia mansion." "I understand." Su Yu smiled bitterly. "I didn't think that the polytheistic literature was so important. It's actually the source of the chaos. So, everyone's goal is to make the polytheistic literature disappear." Zhu Tiandao sighed and nodded. "We can actually vaguely guess how important the polytheistic literature is. It might be related to the suppression of the human realm. However, Yi Batian's failure back then, the vigilance of the gods and demons, and the strange movements of the immortals all tell us not to act rashly. Another point is that the multi-divine literature department is not extinct. I feel that not every multi-divine literature department is a threat. It should be something left behind by Yi Batian that makes people feel pressure. That's why there was a change many years ago." Zhu Tiandao pondered for a moment and said, "Yi Batian should have found some secrets to truly become invincible, the secrets of an invincible civilized master. And all of this might be reflected in his divine literature." Su Yu fell into deep thought. According to Bai Feng, it was because he lacked a talent divine prose, and the multi-divine prose battle technique was the embryonic form of the talent divine prose. The multi-divine prose battle technique, combined with the human divine prose, and the outline of the entire human divine prose, might be able to break that barrier, form the talent divine prose, and enter the invincible realm. Was Bai Feng's deduction correct? Could the divine prose battle technique really form the talent divine prose? Bai Feng only told a few people about this. Currently, only Su Yu, Bai Feng, Lu Wenyan, Hong Tan, and Chen Yong knew about this in the entire human realm. The others, at most, only knew about the splitting method. Or they knew that the divine devil divine prose had a repulsive force. In addition, the information of the 5th generation had been taken away. Did that invincible in the dark find something from the information of the 5th generation? The other party wanted to kill Lu Wenyan and himself. The 2 times he attacked, he killed people from his own faction. Was he worried that Lu Wenyan and he would find out some secrets? As for Martial Uncle Chen, he was also being pursued by the 6 Wings divine sect. Was this invincible in the dark setting up as well? Killing people to silence them? Doubts rose one after another. Several invincible Tao protectors as a price. Was this a promise given by the gods and devils? "Manor head, you said that 50 years ago, there was a strange movement of the immortal race, and the immortal race was also involved." Zhu Tiandao was silent for a moment. He said, "I'm not sure, but the identities of some of the unrivaled experts who attacked and blocked the road back then are so mysterious that it's impossible to identify them. Which race do you think these unrivaled experts who suddenly appeared from all over the universe belong to? The gods and demons did not conceal themselves. Small clans like to conceal themselves, but the unrivaled experts of small clans might not have the strength to do so. Then, tell me, where did this unrivaled expert come from? From the immortal clan. Su Yu gritted his teeth. Zhu Tiandao smiled and said, "It's hard to say. Anyway, I guess it's from the immortal clan, so it's not just the gods that are suppressing them. The immortal clan also has this intention. It's just that they are allies on the surface, so it's not good for them to show their faces directly." Humph. Su Yu gritted his teeth and said, "People like this are even more hateful." Zhu Tiandao smiled and said, "They are just using each other. It's not a betrayal. If we have the chance, we will also kick them when they are down." At this point, Zhu Tiandao smiled and said, "All right, let's not talk about this anymore. I won't admit to what I've just said. If you really want to seek justice, we'll talk about it when you're invincible. Also, don't reveal too much of your talent as a civilized master. What you're exposing now are some of your warrior skills. Actually, it's quite good. The gods and demons aren't afraid of you becoming invincible in the warrior path, they're afraid of the civilized master path. If you really can activate the human race's suppressive force, then it won't be just one or two undefeatable people. In the human realm, one undefeatable person can be used as 10 people. You can imagine how terrifying that kind of influence is. If the human race has 50 undefeatable people, then it can be used as 500 people. Don't you think it's terrifying? Also, the great undefeatable realm experts may have secretly trained some more civilized masters of the divine literature department. You're in the light, and there may be some people in the dark who are hiding their names or simply cultivating in some small worlds. So, don't think that there really are only so many civilized masters of the divine literature department in the world. Su Yu said sullenly, "I don't only care about the number of people, I don't care about the faction. I only care about a few people, not the entire faction." Zhu Tiandao and the others still did not understand him well enough. If he really cared about the faction, Daming Manor also had many students and teachers from the Divine Arts Department. Why didn't he have much contact with them? This was not what he cared about at all. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1287. 1287 Chapter 302, Eternal Infamy, Monthly Subscription, 5. Very soon, Su Yu let out a sigh. "I know. I'll forget it when I get back." So, at this stage, it's impossible for the split method to be popularized, right? Yes. Zhu Tiandao nodded. That was indeed the case. It couldn't be popularized. After saying that, he smiled and said, "It's not a big problem to secretly teach a few people. It can't be popularized on a large scale." Understood. Su Yu didn't say anything more. Very soon, he left this place. After he left, Zhu Tiandao shook his head and looked toward the north, where the great Xia mansion was located. Had the Xia family compromised? Would Lu Wenyan be recalled? Would Hong Tan be betrayed? Was it a ploy to make him suffer, or did the Xia family really abandon the multiple divine languages? Was this done by the Xia waiter, or was the 10,000 heavenly saints secretly controlling everything? What's his purpose? Xia Longwu's attainment of the Tao. Xia Longwu is about to become your black pot ancestor. He can push everything onto his attainment of the Tao. He's really capable. After all, he doesn't need to worry about itchiness when he has a lot of lice, right? Zhu Tiandao couldn't help but laugh. That was true. Xia Longwu didn't lack a few black pots. Xia Longwu didn't lack either. On the other hand, the myriad sage was still a weakling, a coward, and a manor head who had suffered a blow. Just as Su Yu was engrossed in researching the longevity-extending method, the great Xia Manor gradually began to stir. Next semester, we'll recruit more students from the 10,000 races. The demon suppression army at the front line will withdraw for 3,000 li. The great Xia Manor was instantly shaken. News from the higher-ups made some of the citizens of the great Xia Manor extremely angry. They still wanted to continue recruiting students from the 10,000 races. And there were even fiend god students. As for the immortal students, they didn't have much hatred, so no one could be bothered to say anything. However, the fiend god was a great enmity, didn't they know? The army had retreated for 3,000 li. What was this? Bring down Xiaoxi. Return the Grand Xia Manor to us. Martial Dragon Manor Lord, come out of seclusion and revive the discipline. Such cries resounded throughout the Grand Xia Manor time and time again. Waiter Xia, you're fooling around again. It's the waiter. It's this bastard. He doesn't know how to do it. And in the great Xia mansion. The Xia family. Xiahou Yi listened to the voice of the outside world, eat something, do not speak, eat not too fragrant. Before, he was the scapegoat for small things, not too big of a right and wrong. And now, he's really getting beaten up. His reputation was in tatters. A sinner. A traitor. A traitor. The destroyer of the great Xia mansion, the parasite of the Xia family, left a bad reputation for all eternity. The outside world had given him many nicknames. Lord Xiahou continued to eat. In front of him, Xia Chan and Xia Huyo both had worried expressions. Xia Chan was also holding in her anger and said angrily, "Grandpa, why did you recruit the god and devil students? Also, why are the troops retreating from the front lines?" In the past, they said that they didn't have enough funds, but now, they are reducing the resources of the various universities. They have also earned a lot of merit points from the fusion technique. Isn't that enough for the military expenditure? Xia Chan was extremely furious. "Grandpa, everyone outside is scolding you right now." "I know, I'm not deaf." Xia Ho said indifferently, "All right, go to the university after you finish eating." "What are you making a fuss about?" "Grandpa." Xia Chan is very angry, in a fit of anger, "Get up and go." She's holding her temper. When she left, Xia Huyo sighed, "Second grandpa. Does my father know about this?" "No." Xia Hoyi Light Wei, what use does he know? He knows light can cut, 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 cut. It's important for your father to be invincible, nothing else is important. The Xia family has 2 invincible men. When the time comes, I will hide behind the scenes. When your father comes out, he will naturally be able to revive the rivers and mountains. Xia Huyu said bitterly, "Second grandfather, I know that you definitely do not have the intention to be a traitor. However, if this continues, your reputation will really be completely tarnished. The great Xia Manor's evaluation of you has already been thoroughly tarnished. It's not like before. When everyone mentions you, they will at most make fun of you for wanting money. This reputation was really completely tarnished on the streets. Can reputation be used as food?" Master Xia Ho was indifferent, and Xia Hu felt an inexplicable sadness. Reputation could not be used as food, but as a member of the Xia family, as the master of the great Xia Manor, he was despised by the great Xia Manor. Some of his old friends even pointed at him and scolded him. Was second grandfather really not sad? "My father, if he really can't achieve the Tao, second grandfather. Give up. Unfilial son, get lost." Master Xia Ho was furious and shouted, "Get out. If you really have the ability, you can protect your father for a while. You are stronger than anything. If you don't have the ability, you can only cry. What are you crying for? Get lost." Master Xia Ho was furious. This was the first time he was angry at this grandnephew. Xia Huyo had a helpless look on his face. He stood up and bowed slightly. Second grandpa, maybe I am wrong, but I think, even if the Xia family dies standing up, they cannot live on their knees like this. The sacrifices they have made for more than 300 years, cannot be destroyed just because of my father. Lord Xia Ho's mind wandered. After a long while, he shouted, "Scram!" Xia Huyo sighed and turned to leave. Once he left, Lord Xia Ho straightened his back a little and muttered, "What do you know? Who the F***ck gave birth on their knees?" As he spoke, he looked at the Great Xia Institute of Civilization. He muttered a few times, but no one heard him. I, Xia Shower, have done my best. Now, if I were to go out, I would probably be spat on by others. The fellows of the Great Xia Manor are just that reckless. Sigh, I can't live like this anymore. Leaning back on his chair and swaying it, Lord Xia suddenly laughed in a daze. On the day I die, how will everyone evaluate me? He suddenly felt a little expectant. He really hoped that someone would write an epitaph for me. Xia Shower, the second son of the great Xia Emperor. He was born with a bright talent and was pursued by tens of thousands of people. He was an elegant young master. The middle-aged man was obsessed with the business world and was incomparably black-hearted. He was known as the black-hearted Lord Xia. In his twilight years, he led a wolf into his house and colluded with the gods and devils. After that, he changed his mind and died in the heavenly battlefield. Creak, creak. The old wooden chair swayed. Lord Xia Ho yawned and stretched his lazy waist. He smiled. Forget it. Reputation was worth a few dollars. Little Long Wu, don't die. Your second uncle lived longer than you. When you were young, your second uncle doted on you. Stop messing around. P.S. In the last 3 hours, the monthly vote will expire if you don't vote. I beg for the monthly vote. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1288. 1288 Chapter 303, Vent the Anger, Monthly 1. Daming Mansion. Returning to the laboratory, Suyu continued to experiment with some cultivation techniques. The blood essence provided by Zhu Tiandao was not in place yet, so he could not experiment with other cultivation techniques at the moment. After trying out the existing cultivation techniques for a while, Suyu continued to cast his body. Previously, he had completed 3 casts. After casting his body 3 times, Suyu could clearly feel that his body was much stronger. His qi and blood were abundant, and his yuan aperture was strengthened. There was still quite a bit of heaven yuan qi left from the blood essence that he had gotten from Xia Huyo. After cultivating for a while, he felt a little irritated. Suyu stood up and walked out of the cultivation room. The research institute was 6 stories high. It was only the surface, and there was a basement underground. Of course, Hu Xianqing hardly used it. It was originally used to imprison demonic beasts. However, Hu Xianqing didn't study the content of blood essence. This basement had been left unused and had never been used. But now, the basement had been used by Suyu. Walking into the basement, at the door, the waterman and Shadow were secretly cultivating. The 3 mountain and sea demons were also cultivating here. Seeing Suyu enter, the demons quickly appeared. At this time, the demons had more respect and fear for Suyu. Because Suyu had died many times, the demons knew his importance. They did not dare to neglect him. Suyu nodded slightly and said, "Did these guys say anything?" No. Suyu did not ask anymore. The basement was also very bright. Hu Xianqing was a person who pursued perfection. Even if the basement was a cage, it was still very beautiful. The small rooms felt pretty good. After walking forward for a while, a transparent door appeared. Inside, there were some people locked up. These were the spies that Suyu had asked Zhu Tiandao for. They were all secretly captured. At this moment, when these people saw Suyu outside the transparent door, they all shouted loudly. However, this transparent door had a silencing effect. Suyu could not hear what these people were shouting. Suyu could not help but laugh. No wonder the few great demons said that there was no movement and that they did not hear anything. It would be strange if they could hear anything. With a wave of his hand, the door of a room shook. In the room, the voice of the person who had been captured was quickly heard. Suyu. Why did you capture me? Do you want to disregard human lives? Did I offend you? This person was shouting loudly. At this moment, he could also feel that the silencing array had lost its effect. He immediately shouted, Suyu, what do you want to do? Suyu looked at him and said indifferently, you've already captured him. Do you still have the mentality of being lucky? What on earth are you trying to do? This person shouted loudly and angrily said, I'll definitely report you. Suyu, I'll go to the civilized academy, the Daming Manor, and even the 2 great holy lands to report you. I'm a 9th level soaring realm expert. You've captured me for no reason. Suyu couldn't be bothered with him. He smiled and waved his hand again. At this moment, the 10 or so rooms had all become transparent. The walls in each of the rooms had become transparent. At this moment, the people in the other rooms had also seen Suyu. They all roared angrily, but they were unable to make a sound. However, from their expressions, it was clear that they were all very angry. Some begged for mercy, while others were hysterical. Suyu did not care. He looked at the person who was facing him and slowly said, tell me which sect you work for, what your mission is, how you can contact them online, how powerful your sect is, and where your stronghold is. What nonsense are you spouting? The person said angrily, I don't know what you're talking about at all. Don't tell me you think I'm from the Myriad Clan sect and are full of nonsense. Suyu smiled. You really don't shed tears until you see the coffin. It just so happens that I'm a little angry now. A few days ago, I was in a good mood, but these 2 days, I'm a little depressed. He looked at the man and said with a smile, how about this? Spar with me for a while. You're at the 9th level of the Soaring Heaven tier, but I'm only at the 1st level of the Soaring Heaven tier. If you beat me, I'll let you go. If you lose, there's no need to say anything else. Inside the cage, this person's expression changed slightly. He gritted his teeth and said, what right do I have to spar with you? Suyu did not say anything and directly stepped into the cage. That person's expression changed again and again. At this moment, the 2 of them were less than 2 meters apart. Suyu raised his head and looked at him. This is the last chance. If you win, I'll leave. If you lose, either you tell me everything right now, or you die. HMPH, if you want to add to the crime, why don't you do it yourself? This person was extremely vigilant and did not dare to make a move rashly. However, in his heart, he was weighing whether he and Suyu had the strength to fight. The 9th level of the Soaring Sky versus the 1st level of the Soaring Sky. However, Suyu had opened a lot of apertures. As he was still thinking, Suyu's figure flashed and he threw a punch. The sound of air exploding rang out. That person's expression changed. With a low roar, his apertures were opened. He was a fighter with 72 apertures and 8 apertures as one. At this moment, his physical body was also 9. When he went all out, the explosive strength of his physical body exceeded 300 apertures. However, before the 2 of them could come into contact, Suyu's fist force exploded. With a loud bang, his bones exploded and blood spurted out. With a bang, the 9th level of the Soaring Heavens realm exploded into pieces, and the entire cage instantly turned blood red. Suyu was wearing a white robe. At this moment, his willpower trembled slightly, and the blood that spurted out was blocked by his clothes and fell down. Suyu shook his head slightly. You're too weak. After saying that, he looked at the other cages and said calmly, "You can hear me. It's the same. Either you give me an explanation or spar with me. If you win, I'll let you go. If you lose, that's probably what you'll end up with." In all the cells, the expressions of those people changed. Soaring ninth layer. 72 apertures. It wasn't too mediocre. One had to know that in the Great Xia Mansion, many students in the Dragon Martial Academy only had 72 apertures. Including students like Chen Hao, they weren't considered bad in the Dragon Martial Academy. They only had 72 apertures. Of course. Their bodies would usually be 18. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1289. 1289 Chapter 303, Vent Your Anger, Monthly 2. This person's body was 9, so his body was a little weak. However, no matter how weak he was still at the 9th level of the soaring cloud realm. His reaction speed and reaction speed were not too slow, but at this moment, he was blasted apart by Su Yu's punch across space. He died too easily. As for Su Yu, he was not surprised at all. If this piece of trash at the 9th level of the soaring cloud realm could match up to him, then wouldn't he have wasted so much time, resources, and opportunities to cultivate? Even if he did not enter the soaring heavens realm, he could still kill the other party easily. Ignoring this dead fellow, Su Yu took a step forward and entered the second room. This was the room of a first-level Ling Yun realm powerhouse. Soaring into the sky to cast his body, Ling Yun's 9 transformations of origin Qi. Su Yu did not have a clear grasp of how much his origin Qi would increase once it changed. Everyone's origin Qi would change, and their strength would increase differently. Some people could increase their strength by multiple times while others could only increase their strength by a small amount. It was related to cultivation techniques and also to the Yuan Qi or other things that they absorbed when their Yuan Qi changed. The highest level of gods and demons was at the 9th level of the soaring heaven realm. Their strength was above 10,000 apertures. If they could increase their strength by multiple times every time, it would be terrifying. Of course, soaring heaven and Ling Yun like that were extremely rare and rare. The amount of resources that they consumed was also astronomical. Su Yu stepped into the room and looked at the middle-aged man who was at the Ling Yun realm. He looked refined and gentle while the other party was also looking at Su Yu with a twinkle in his eyes. He said in a low voice, "Researcher Su, what do you want to know?" "You can ask, and I'll tell. We're just here to eat. Everyone has their own difficulties. It doesn't mean that all those who join the Myriad Clan sect are traitors. Sometimes, life forces us to do so." Su Yu smiled. "Aren't you going to try to capture me or kill me?" The refined middle-aged man said in a low voice, "Lord Su is extremely talented. He opened the heavenly cycle acupuncture point and successfully cast his body. He didn't even use his willpower or his multi-divine literature battle skills. How can I be a match for you? I've only opened 72 apertures and cast 18 corporeal bodies. Not long after I stepped into Ling Yun, my Yuan Qi increased by an average amount. It's just the strength of 1,000 apertures. The strength of 1,000 apertures. It was not to the extent of being weak. To have the strength of 1,000 apertures for the first time in Ling Yun was actually not bad. He was not mediocre. However, compared to Su Yu, the refined middle-aged man had self-awareness and was far from being as powerful as Su Yu. He would definitely be beaten to death by Su Yu. He had a vague realization that Su Yu came here today to kill people. Su Yu smiled and ignored him. He directly walked into another room. The moment he left, the middle-aged man's forehead was covered in sweat and his back was covered in cold sweat. He, Ling Yun, had just been scared to death by a person who had just stepped into the air. This guy was too terrifying. Daming Mansion, or rather, almost everyone was now attracted by his research talent. Everyone knew that his specific combat strength was very strong, but they had no idea how strong he was. They did not know how many of Su Yu's consonant aperture had advanced, and whether he had advanced with a consonant aperture 40. If not, his strength would be completely different. But if that was the case, then Su Yu would be too terrifying. Just as he was thinking about it, in the next room, there was a rumbling sound and an explosion. Turning his head to look, he was shocked. Which family was this from? They were too daring. Did they really think that they could escape just by capturing Su Yu? Third level of Ling Yun. The refined middle-aged man made a judgment. Furthermore, he was not a weakling. He seemed to have opened 108 apertures and opened 12 joint apertures. He was a true martial artist who had advanced to the 10,000 stone realm. The crux of the matter was that Ling Yun was at the third level of the Ling Yun realm, the third change in his vitality. The other party's 9 changes in vitality was not weak. The first change would increase his strength by at least 30%. It was close to the strength of 3,000 apertures. On the other hand, Su Yu's physical strength did not seem to be as strong as the other parties. That's right. At this moment, Su Yu's physical strength was only at the third change in his body. His explosive strength was close to the strength of 2,400 apertures. He was much weaker than the other party. Only such a Ling Yun could be considered a true little genius Ling Yun. The 9 transformations technique was still a little weak. Otherwise, it would be even stronger. Opening 108 apertures, closing 12 apertures, and casting 18 physical bodies. This was the basic configuration of some genius students in the Warrior Academy. It was also the basic configuration of the entire human race, the little geniuses. Within the cage, Su Yu did not use the power of the divine script. Instead, it was a cultivation technique. Time and heaven-cleaving blade cultivation techniques. The rumbling sounds continued. In the small room, Su Yu had many tricks up his sleeves. His cultivation techniques were powerful, and there were also countless special cultivation techniques. Soul-devouring technique and origin-devouring technique erupted, corroding the opponent's willpower and devouring the opponent's yuan qi. His cultivation technique was constantly changing. It was extremely satisfying. At this moment, Su Yu completely regarded himself as a warrior. The room wasn't big, and the two of them engaged in close combat. That Ling Yun expert growled repeatedly, and his hand was like a knife as he slashed down on Su Yu's head. Su Yu's feet moved, and his time combat technique erupted. Shattering mountains and seas, suppressing the sun and moon, invincible in battle. Time flew by, and that Ling Yun realm expert felt that Su Yu was getting further and further away from him, crossing space and time. He had clearly gone all out, but he was still separated from Su Yu by a layer, unable to hit Su Yu. He was slightly terrified and hurriedly said, "Sir, I say." Just as he finished speaking, his vision blurred and with a bang, Su Yu stomped down. Bang! His head exploded. It's too late. Su Yu panted slightly and landed on the ground. He laughed and shook his boots, causing some of the dirty things on them to slide down. Your strength is not bad. It was a fair assessment. It was really not bad. The explosive strength of close to 3,000 acupoints was really not bad. If it was placed in the elite corps, it would not be considered weak among those of the same level. It was just that the killing intent was a little weak and did not give Su Yu that sense of life and death crisis. A true expert in the army might not necessarily be stronger than him. However, once the battle started, the killing intent would shake the heavens. The enemy would be afraid before the battle even started. Before the battle even started, they would be weaker by a third. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1290. 1290 Chapter 303, Vent Your Anger, Monthly 3. This guy had encountered some first-level Ling Yun in the army. Even if their cultivation techniques and battle techniques were the same, there was a high chance that they would fail. Of course, their opponents would also be heavily injured. 9 transformations is also a huge transformation. Su Yu smiled. I feel that the transformation of a civilized master is actually not as big as the transformation of a fighter. A civilized master is only truly powerful when he reaches the mountain and sea realm. The mountain and sea divine aperture, combined with the combined aperture, has greatly improved the mountain and sea realm. Su Yu muttered to himself. At this moment, in the other rooms, the cultivators' faces were deathly pale, and their hearts were filled with terror. The moment Su Yu arrived, he beheaded a 9th-level Skysoar realm cultivator and killed a 3rd-level Lingyun realm cultivator. This killing intent was too great. At this moment, they weren't the only ones. Outside the cage, the few great demons were also silent. The Shadow's figure flashed and easily killed a 3rd-level Lingyun cultivator. Of course, the Shadow was confident that he was much more powerful and difficult to deal with than the 3rd-level Lingyun cultivator. However, Su Yu didn't even use any divine inscriptions. He relied on his physical body and heaven-grade cultivation techniques to kill a 3rd-level Lingyun cultivator. This was extremely terrifying. Jushan said telepathically, "This fellow seems to be here to kill someone this time. Is he being bullied? I feel that Daming Manor treats him well. Who dares to be bullied by him?" Shuren said telepathically, "Luckily, we caught some fellows from the Myriad Clan sect." He was very glad. Otherwise, if Su Yu wanted to vent his anger, wouldn't he look for them? How troublesome would that be? After being beaten half to death, he still didn't dare to retaliate. How could he be reasonable? After killing 2 people in a row, most of the depression in Su Yu's heart dissipated. He smiled and didn't go to the other rooms. He returned to the previous room and sat down in the well-decorated cage. He smiled and said, "Friend, let's have a chat first. Killing people isn't the goal, and I'm not a homicidal maniac. It's just that some people don't know how to appreciate favors. There's no other way. I have to teach them a lesson. Your lesson is to kill them. All right." The refined middle-aged man cursed silently in his heart, but he did not dare to say anything more. He quickly said, "Lord Su, my name is Sun Fei. I'm a 1st-level Lingyun, a fighter. I graduated from Daming Windy Combat Division and served in Daming Windy Combat Division for 9 years. After that, I joined the Heavenly Dao Army and fought against 10,000 races in the Heavenly Battlefield. Later on, the 100-man guard that I commanded was killed alone. The rest of them died in battle. I was seriously injured and on the verge of death. I was captured by the Earth-Fire Demon race. Later on, I could not withstand the torture and temptation, so I joined the Earth-Fire Demon race and joined the Earth-Fire Demon sect." According to Sun Fei, after he joined the Earth-Fire Demonic sect, he was released. However, due to his defeat and injuries, he was held accountable in the army. Therefore, he chose to retire and return to Daming Mansion. When he retired, he was already at the later stage of the soaring stage. He also had an idle position in Daming Mansion and didn't have many missions. His mission was to monitor Daming Mansion. After that, he was promoted to Ling Yun. It hadn't been long since he had been promoted. He had already been selected by the higher-ups of the Daming Mansion and was prepared to be promoted to a more important position in the Tiandu Mansion. In the end, he was exposed this time. Because he had made a trip out of the city, he was targeted. The Heavenly Dao Army suddenly captured him and searched his residence. After finding some things, they immediately sent them over to Su Yu. After Su Yu heard this, he nodded slightly and smiled. "According to what you said, you didn't kill anyone these years and didn't provide any important information. So you're considered innocent, right?" Sun Fei didn't say anything. Su Yu said indifferently, "It's a little different from the information I got. According to the manor head, the people who sent it to me aren't innocent. They deserve to die. Are you playing tricks on me? Sun Fei was silent for a moment. He said, I'm not innocent. I once leaked a rather important piece of information to the Earth Fire Devil cult, which led to the war at the front line. Similarly, the shortcomings of the important weapons were grasped. When the war broke out, the weaknesses of the weapons were targeted, resulting in heavy casualties. The Heavenly Dao army lost 1,000 guards. Su Yu said coldly, this is much more serious than killing a few people. No wonder Mansion Master Zhu is so soft-hearted. The Great Xia Mansion kills all the clans, and the Daming Mansion can lock you up, sentence you, and even redeem yourself for your crimes. But you were sent directly to me. Those who were sent to me can be killed directly. I know. I only hope that Lord Su can only kill the chief evil and not implicate my family members. Sun Fei sighed, I have no way of turning back, but my family members really don't know. In our line of work, we know that we're going to be finished sooner or later. Unless our family betrays us, we usually won't implicate our family. That's why I guarantee that everything I said is true. My family didn't get involved. Sir, if you can speak in front of the manor head, please. Show mercy. Su Yu couldn't be bothered with him and continued, this is the manor head's business. The manor head wouldn't be so ruthless. Does the Earth Fire Devil cult have a stronghold in Daming Manor? No, the Earth Fire Devil cult is mainly active in the Great Song Manor. There are only a few spies in the Daming Manor. Among the mountains and seas that were killed previously, there was a deputy sect leader of the Earth Fire Devil cult. I know him, and I used to be under his leadership. He quickly said, the other party was killed, and the spies under his control have all entered hibernation, so I haven't been exposed yet. Once someone takes over, I will be used very quickly. Sir, I can redeem myself and not beg for my own survival. I only beg for Sir to intercede for my son family. Su Yu ignored him and thought for a moment. You have entered the Lingyun realm. Your position in the Earth Fire Demon sect shouldn't be too low. Can you contact the Sun Moon realm? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1291. 1291 Chapter 303, Vent Your Anger, Monthly 4. No, only the mountains and seas can do that. Sun Fei explained, the hierarchy of the 10,000 clans is even stricter. Under normal circumstances, they are all level 1 and above. Those in the Lingyun realm are controlled by the mountains and seas. Those in the mountains and seas realm can contact the sun and the moon. Even if they do, they might not know the identity of the other party. The higher the level, the deeper the concealment. Some people actually have a legitimate identity, or even an overlord-level expert. Then what can you do? You look like trash. Sun Fei hurriedly said, Lord, my identity hasn't been exposed. The Earth Fire Devil cult will contact me sooner or later. If they use me, they can at least capture a Shanghai realm warrior. Su Yu smiled. Is that all? Sun Fei was terrified and hurriedly said, No, there's more. Lord, I lived in the Earth Fire Devil war zone for a period of time. I know some of the defenses. Su Yu waved his hand and smiled. It's been many years. Don't treat him as a fool. What do you traitors see? It's meaningless to use this to fool me. Sun Fei was anxious and hurriedly said, I also know that there's a base of 10,000 races outside the capital city of the Daming Mansion. It's the 10,000 races sect. It's not a single sect, but a trading point for everyone. A mission point. There are still more now. Su Yu smiled and said, so many experts have been killed in the Great Ming Mansion this time. I'm afraid that this trading point has scattered. Sun Fei hurriedly said, it may have scattered, but it is also possible that it still exists, or that the trading point has been rebuilt. Sir, the religion of 10,000 races also needs to communicate. Otherwise, when it comes to soaring into the sky and Ling Yun, they will lack the necessary resources and won't be able to improve. We'll see. Su Yu thought for a moment and said, on your side, I'll look at the situation. Using you to fish might not be able to lure mountains and seas. You haven't appeared for a few days, so you might have already been exposed. No, sir. I've always lived in seclusion. In addition, I've just entered Ling Yun, so it's normal for me to go into seclusion for a few days. Su Yu smiled and said, all right, I got it. After saying that, he got up and walked out of the room. He looked at Shui Ren and the others, he smiled. The rest of you, record the situation. If you don't say anything, one-eyed, you guys can play as you please. It's fine if you die. You're not allowed to eat people. As for the rest, feel free. One-eyed smiled faintly, and Zhu Shan said sullenly, are you alright if you're smashed into meat pies? I'm fine. The prisoners in those rooms were instantly terrified. 3 mountain and sea demons were going to deal with them. These demons were cold-blooded and heartless. Su Yu was a human, so it was easier to say, actually, it was hard to say, but at the very least, it was easier to say than the demons. Many people were like that. They were arrogant. No matter how strong the humans were, he felt that he could bully them. However, the 10,000 tribes, even small tribes, were very weak, but the other party was a demon. Some people felt that they were very strong and didn't dare to provoke them. Everyone was afraid that Su Yu had killed 2 people. The few great demons had not killed anyone yet, but these people were already extremely frightened. Su Yu could not be bothered with them and walked out. After killing 2 scum, his mood became much better. He also experienced his own strength in the path of a fighter. It was still alright, but he did not have many bodies cast. If he really encountered someone at the 4th level of Ling Yun who had opened 108 apertures and had cast his body 18 times, he would not be a match for them by just relying on the path of a fighter. These people weren't considered too freakish. A true freakish person who had opened 144 apertures and cast his body 36 times would probably not be a match for someone at the later stage of the Soaring Heavens stage, let alone Ling Yun. There's still a long way to go. After walking out of the basement, he felt a little better, but he still felt that his abilities were too weak. It was already very fast. However, he still felt that it was too slow. Earth Fire Demon Sect. Let's see if we can catch some big fish. After venting his anger, Su Yu soon received good news. Zhu Tiandao sent someone over and sent over quite a lot of essence blood that Su Yu needed. Including the rotary turtle essence blood, which was at the soaring realm. He didn't know where he got it from. The Daming Manor seemed to have a mountain and sea rotary turtle. The rotary turtle clan was also rare in the heavenly battlefield. Su Yu had searched the Great Xia Manor many times but still couldn't find it. The Daming Manor actually had the soaring realm essence blood reserve. Su Yu was also very satisfied. Zhu Tiandao was very efficient and supported him greatly. Soon, he sent over dozens of blood essence, so he could give it a try. In the secret chamber, Su Yu once again swallowed the blood essence and tried out cultivation techniques one by one. Every time he tried one, he would record it down. The current him had too many cultivation techniques. Among them, there were many top-notch cultivation techniques, including the innate skills of the primitive god clan and the primitive demon clan. The god transformation and devil arrival were both extremely powerful. Su Yu had tried it once, he felt that they were even more powerful than the heaven-cleaving blade. 152 yuan apertures contained 8 of the 9 apertures of yuan opening. According to Bai Feng's explanation, this was the peak. The peak martial technique should be the one with 153 openings. It contained the entire 9 apertures of yuan opening. However, the human race had tried this many times, but all of them ended in failure. Once the 100 apertures were contained, it would often cause one's body to explode. Suyu didn't think about it. He wasn't in the mood to create a 360 aperture battle technique. If he really mastered the 360 aperture battle technique, he wouldn't need a battle technique. A cultivation technique was a natural battle technique. The current Suyu wasn't too familiar with this, so he didn't have a deep grasp of it. The Fire Dragon technique is actually an offensive type battle technique. If it's not a life extension type battle technique, then it means that the race is born to live a long life. I can't help it. Suyu was helpless. He activated the technique again and again and tried it out. The races listed were all born to live a long life. However, there were some races that were born to live a long life. There was nothing he could do about it. Soon, Suyu tried out the blood essence of the Rotary Turtle clan. Rotary Turtle, 7th level of soaring. Race skills, turtle breathing technique, blood essence activation, diving, blood essence activation, turtle shell casting, blood essence activation. Basic origin technique, turtle origin technique. Basic body casting technique, turtle shell heavenly casting technique, blood essence activation. Suyu frowned and continued to consume the blood essence to try it out. Turtle breath technique, he tried it out. His breath concealing ability wasn't weak, but he should be able to detect it if it was one level higher. Of course, if he were to dive into the water to conceal his breath, he might not be able to detect it even if it was 2 levels higher. This is a good thing. With my willpower in the air, even if I dive into the water to conceal my breath, the mountains and seas might not be able to detect me. The turtle origin technique does have some effect on stimulating one's vitality, but it feels too weak. Suyu shook his head. No way. He was a little disappointed, but it wasn't too bad. He didn't have much hope in the first place, and the Rotary Turtle clan was also trash. He could keep the turtle origin technique, but forget about the others. He tried some cultivation techniques one after another. Some of them did work, but the effects weren't very good. Suyu fell into deep thought and walked out of the secret room. At this time, when Zhong walked over, he knew that he must have tested some blood essence or something else. He said directly, "Junior brother Su, if you don't have any leads, there is actually a race that might have a way to extend life." What? The immortal race. When Zhong said in a deep voice, the immortal race, a race of longevity. It was the most similar to the human race. In the past, when the immortal race entered the human realm, they even proclaimed that the immortal race was a metamorphosis of the human race. They had boundless longevity, and after entering the immortal race, their lifespan was secure. Even though the myriad races' religion did not have any sects that were established by the immortal race, we have always suspected that there were some in the dark, but they were not very conspicuous and were very secretive. After all, the immortal race had a long lifespan, and this was a fact. Even gods and devils of the same level could not live as long as the immortal race. The immortals. Suyu's eyes flickered. I know. He could contact the Great Qin Manor. The Qin town of the Great Qin Manor said that they wanted to kill the immortals. Perhaps, he could get his hands on them. At the very most, he could send the immortal soul enlightenment art to the Great Qin Manor at a lower price. This wasn't important. The immortals. After muttering to himself again, Suyu felt that the immortals might have a way to extend their lifespan. Zhu Tiandao couldn't get his hands on the blood essence of the immortals, right? There was no great war between the humans and the celestials. Of course, within a small area, there were some battles that were very secretive. They would kill each other, and once they were done, they would not leave anything behind. When he thought of this, Suyu was slightly excited. He could give it a try. P.S. At the beginning of the month, I want a guaranteed monthly ticket. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1292. 1292 Chapter 304 Hong Tan came out of seclusion. 1. Immortal Blood Essence. This was something Suyu had never tried before. Very soon, Suyu contacted Zhu Tiandao, hoping to obtain some immortal blood essence. If the Great Ming Mansion didn't have it, he could discuss with the Great Qin Mansion and see if he could get some. At the same time, it was already March. During this period of time, the Seeker Stage and the War God Hall had made some moves. The 8 great clans, who were at the Sun-Moon Stage, started to sweep through the strongholds of the 10,000 clans, including the 6-winged god sect. The War God Hall also started to sweep through some areas. The strongmen started to sweep through the wilderness, and a large number of the 10,000 clans' disciples were killed. The 10,000 clans also started to shrink. They no longer showed themselves and did not make any big movements. In March, the world was peaceful. The only place that was not quiet was the Great Xia Manor. The Great Xia Manor, in March, the sun and moon changed colors. A sun and moon realm cultivator was about to appear. The commotion was not small. When Jin Yuhui broke through to the sun and moon realm, the commotion was not big. In fact, Jin Yuhui had not completely broken through that day either. As for the Great Xia Manor, there was a sun and moon realm cultivator who was about to completely break through. This was also one of the few people who had broken through to the sun and moon realm in recent decades. Great Xia Civilization Academy. Secret Region. 2 half-moons hung in the air, one big and one small. This wasn't a sun and moon realm that was about to break through, but 2 sun and moon realms that were about to appear. If nothing went wrong, Hong Tan and Zhou Mingren were about to break through. For decades, no one in the Great Xia Civilization Academy had broken through to the sun and moon realm. But today, they had finally broken through. 2 Peak Mountain and Sea Realm cultivators were about to step into the sun and moon realm. However, the students and teachers were not in a good mood. 2 Sun and Moon, one was Hong Tan from the Multi-Divine Literature Department, the Multi-Divine Literature Department. Suyu had escaped, Chen Yong had gone missing, and Wuxia was in closed-door cultivation. Now, they were dead in name only. One was Zhou Mingren from the Single Divine Literature Department. His student Zhou Pingxing had been killed, and several elders from the Single Divine Literature Department had been killed. 3 clans had been wiped out. If it were on a normal day, the 2 sun and moon realm cultivators would have been celebrating. Today, the atmosphere within the academy was a little stifling. The 2 of them did not know what had happened recently. If they knew, what would happen? Would the 2 sun and moon realm cultivators, who had just advanced, start a huge battle the moment they came out of seclusion? At this moment, in the secret realm area of the academy, pavilion elders were gathered one after another. Several sun and moon realm cultivators also came. Manager Hu, Ji Hong, and Yuan Qingdong, who had just returned, also came. In addition, the general of the Great Xia Manor also personally rushed over, with 4 sun and moon realm cultivators in charge. A moment later, Wu Yuehua's mother, the Wu family's old lady, also rushed over. Not long after, someone invited out the 2nd generation mount that was in seclusion. 6 sun and moon realm cultivators descended into the secret realm area. In the sky, 2 half-moons shone. The sun and moon competed for splendor. General Manager Hu sighed emotionally, it's not easy for these 2 to break through the sun and moon. They're both very strong. To be able to break through the sun and moon in this era was truly not weak. 50 years ago, the difficulty of breaking through the sun and moon realm was much lower. But now, it was much more difficult. Even Jin Yuhui had to fuse 8 divine runes to form a combination of divine runes to complete his advancement. If it was in the past, it wouldn't be so troublesome. Jin Yuhui had to face Zhu Tiandao, who was at the 9th level of the Sun and Moon realm, to be able to withstand a single blow. Otherwise, Jin Yuhui's strength was rather powerful. Chief Hu sighed, but the others did not say a word. He was very powerful. But, it might not be a good thing for the two of them to advance at almost the same time. Rumble. Large amounts of yuan qi was extracted from all directions and quickly gathered here. The second-generation mount that had taken form coughed lightly and said, "Please open the yuan qi mystic realm." Elder Nie, who was in charge of the yuan qi mystic realm, did not say much at that moment. With a wave of his hand, a mirror flew into the sky. In the next moment, a large amount of yuan qi surged out from the mirror and instantly turned into yuan qi liquid. It turned into yuan qi rain and gathered towards a mystic realm. The old man knocked on the crutch in his hand again and coughed, "Please open the Sea of Consciousness mystic realm." The experts who were in charge of the Sea of Consciousness mystic realm also instantly burned a large amount of heavenly river sand and threw out a funnel. A large amount of pure willpower gathered into the distance. The old man glanced at the other suns and moons and coughed, "Everyone, help. Seal the 4 directions to prevent anyone from causing trouble." The suns and moons didn't say much and retreated into the void one after another. There were suns and moons guarding the 4 directions. The old man said again, "The Academy's 9th level and Peak of Nature Nurturing Realm students have gathered. Open the secret realm, borrow the radiance of the suns and moons, open your origin aperture or divine aperture, and 2 suns and moons advance. You are blessed with good fortune." In the next moment, one teacher after another arrived with their students. They were all nature nurturing or myriad stone pinnacle students. At this moment, these students were also incomparably excited. A few pavilion elders glanced at the old man with worry in their hearts. A pavilion elder secretly transmitted his voice, "Elder Long, these students are here. If the 2 of them come out of seclusion and start fighting later, no worries." The old man shook his head slightly and didn't mind. Seeing him say this, the others couldn't say anything else. This second-generation mount was at the 7th level of the Sun and Moon realm. It was also one of the strong clans of the Dragon clan. Its strength wasn't weaker than an ordinary 8th or 9th level. Since he insisted, no one could say anything else. This old man also had enough strength to suppress everything. The fact that the Great Xia Civilization Academy was able to maintain its current position even without the Heavenly Sage showing his sun and moon strength had a lot to do with this old man. Currently, the Heavenly Sage was in closed-door cultivation and Yuan Qingdong was in charge of the academy. However, the influence of the battle of numbers was getting bigger and bigger. The second-generation mount would also appear to do some things to suppress the chaos. Everyone suppressed the unease in their hearts and did not say anything else. Furthermore, Chief Hu was also here. No one knew how strong this Chief Hu was. In any case, he was not weak. Last time, he had unleashed the power of the 5th or 6th level of the Sun-Moon. However, it was hard to say if he was at the 5th or 6th level. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1293. 1293 Chapter 304 Hong Tan Exiting Seclusion, 2. General Zhao, who was known as the Peak of the Mountain and Sea Realm, was already at the 5th level of the Sun and Moon Realm. What kind of strength did this old who had long broken through to the Sun and Moon Realm, have? With these 2 people around, Hong Tan and Zhou Mingren would be able to stop any conflict even if it broke out. Just as everyone was waiting, Yuan Qi and willpower became denser and denser. The Yuan Qi Mystic Realm and Sea of Consciousness Mystic Realm were providing large amounts of resources. This was also the Academy's reserve. It was specially prepared for these people to break through the Sun and Moon. For many years, no one had broken through the Sun and Moon, so these resources had never been used. And at that moment, the Sun and Moon were competing for splendor. Even the huge sun in the sky could not conceal the splendor of the 2.5 moons. At that moment, a sword and a shield hung in the air. Hong Tan is about to advance. Someone said. This was Hong Tan's divine literature battle technique. At that moment, the sword and shield formed by the divine literature was rapidly strengthening. The divine literature was advancing. Boom! Thunder rumbled on the flat ground as Yuan Qi rained down. Everyone in all directions could feel the might. The commotion was huge. It spread out and soon, everyone in a radius of more than 5 kilometers could hear the thunder and feel the power that was about to break out of the cocoon. At that moment, the half-moon that belonged to Hong Tan in the sky suddenly shattered. It was not a failure. Instead, a large amount of Yuan Qi liquid and willpower flowed out from the half-moon. This was a gift from the heavens to the sun and moon. Help the sun and moon advance. At this point, the advancement was almost at its end. In the past, Jin Yuhui did not have it because he was not prepared and had not officially stepped into this domain. The sword and shield in the air gradually strengthened. At the next moment, a rumbling thunder resounded in all directions. The trees began to grow rapidly. The sunlight was brilliant, like spring after a rain. There was some fragrance in the air. And the students at the periphery were also having an epiphany at this moment. Streams of willpower and Yuan Qi rushed towards them. The remnants of the sun and moon breakthrough. However, even if they were remnants, they were still a great tonic to them. Many people's bodies crackled. Their Yuan apertures opened, and their divine apertures opened. At this moment, a great sun rose up in the sky. Stone pillars appeared, cutting in all directions, and waves surged into the sky. That was Zhou Mingren's divine text. Zhou Mingren's main divine text was the Sun divine text, the Great Sun Sunday. Rumble. The sound of tremors rose again. Zhou Mingren was about to advance. At that moment, a figure appeared in the air. The sun and moon shone in Hong Tan's eyes. He glanced at the commotion not too far away and smiled, disapproving. Zhou Mingren's breakthrough was considered normal. Zhou Mingren was an old peak mountain and sea expert. He had grasped 8 divine scripts, and his strength was slightly stronger than Jin Yuhui's. After enduring for so many years, he had finally made a breakthrough. Hong Tan ignored him. At this moment, his body was flickering with light. His aura was unstable, but it was extremely terrifying. He had finally broken through the sun and moon barrier. On the 1st of November, Lu Wenyan and the others left. Not long after they left, Hong Tan began his official seclusion. 4 months had passed. 4 months. Breaking through the sun and moon barrier was considered fast. In the air, Hong Tan did not care about the others and looked around. He looked around and around again. He looked again and again. He was slightly stunned. Where was Chen Yong? Where was Su Yu? Where was Wuxia? His disciples and grand-disciples did not come when he advanced to the sun and moon barrier. Where was he? His willpower wanted to probe the direction of the library. Underground, on the second-generation mount. The old man coughed and said with a chuckle, Hong Tan, congratulations. Thank you, Elder Long. Hong Tan also said politely. He had seen this person before, but he wasn't too familiar with him. At this moment, he didn't have the time to exchange pleasantries with this person. His willpower quickly probed that direction. Underground, the elders all had strange expressions on their faces and didn't make a sound. A moment later, Hong Tan's mind wandered. The library was empty. No, it wasn't empty. Someone wasn't his disciple. Chen Yong wasn't in the academy. What about Su Yu? He quickly looked down at the geniuses below. There was no Su Yu, so he looked into the distance. There was no Su Yu. Soon, he found Wu Jia in a villa in the nature garden. Wu Jia was in seclusion. He pursed his lips and carried a murderous aura. He was constantly polishing his body, opening his mind, and sketching out the divine text. Wuxia was still there. His willpower once again probed into the Wen-Tan Research Center. He broke through his defensive array and entered it. At this moment, he was in a daze, and he staggered. What was going on? The Wen-Tan Research Center was now in an extremely dilapidated state. The basement was empty, and there was nothing left. The reference room was almost empty as well. Dust covered the ground, and it seemed like no one had lived here for several months. Suyu didn't live here. Chen Yong didn't come to clean up. Hong Tan had a strange look in his eyes. He couldn't care less about Zhou Mingren who had just appeared beside him. He landed and looked at the elders around him. He looked at the sun and moon that had just gathered. There was some unease and uncertainty in his eyes. He said dryly, "Wu Yuehua, where are my disciple and grand disciple? Why didn't they come to pick me up? I've broken the sun and moon." He had advanced to the sun and moon realm. Where did he go? Su Yu was still a student. Chen Yong had never gone out, so why was he not around? It was still possible for Wu Jia to run out, but how could the two of them go out at this time? Wu Yuehua glanced at him and said in a somewhat gloomy tone, "Chen Yong has gone out. Su Yu has left the Great Xia Manor." Left? Hong Tan was still in a daze. Wu Yuehua said in a low voice, "I'm sorry, I didn't take good care of him. He went to the Great Ming Manor. He's living very well there. At the very least, it's better than here." Chen Yong. Chen Yong went out to save Feng Qi. In the end, he has gone missing and cannot be found for the time being. However, the various manors have dispatched 10 sun and moon experts to search for him. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1294. 1294 Chapter 304 Hong Tan Exiting Seclusion, 3. Hong Tan was in a daze. Su Yu had left. It was not an ordinary departure, but he had escaped to Daming Manor. He could imagine it. Otherwise, Su Yu would not have gone to Daming Manor to seek refuge. Chen Yong had disappeared. He was in a daze. Before his second disciple entered seclusion, he had personally sent him to the vanguard camp. His first and second disciple students had come out of secluded meditation a few months later, but they were gone. His only grand disciple was currently in secluded meditation. Such a lively girl was hiding in a secret chamber, as if she had not come out for a long time. There was no smile, only anger and a murderous aura that could not be suppressed. What was going on? What was going on? On the other side, Zhou Mingren was also frowning. There were so many people missing. Where were they? When he heard Wu Yuehua's words, his heart skipped a beat. Where were the people on his side? Yu Hong, Sun Xiang, and the others had disappeared. At this moment, only Hu Wensheng was his disciple. Elder Fang, who was in the heavenly battlefield, had returned. Where were the others? There were more than 1 or 2 missing. He vaguely realized something. He looked at Hu Wensheng and said in a low voice, "Where is your senior brother Zhou?" "Master." Hu Wensheng lowered his head. After a while, he said in a low voice, "He's dead." "What about Elder Yu and the others?" "They're dead. They're dead. They're all dead." It was like a dream. Hong Tan also heard this. He turned his head and looked at Zhou Mingren before looking at Wu Yuehua. He grinned and said, "There was a conflict. Otherwise, how did those people die?" Wu Yuehua nodded and said, "Someone attacked Su Yu. Su Yu asked for help. Zhu Tiandao Mansion Master killed a group of traitors. After that, Su Yu entered Daming Mansion and joined Daming Academy. He never returned." Understood. Hong Tan bared his teeth and smiled. The treatment was not bad. Zhu Tiandao had personally killed a group of powerful enemies for his grand disciple. Very good. This kid was indeed ruthless. He had seen through it long ago. What about little Yong? Feng Qi was hiding in the Six Wings Divine Sect. His identity was exposed and he was being chased. Chen Yong went to rescue him. Hong Tan nodded. Feng Qi. I know this kid is still alive. Not bad. Little Yong went to rescue him and disappeared. N. Hong Tan said dryly, then now. The Great Xia Civilization Academy only has Jia and me. The school of multiple divine languages seemed to have really dispersed. No one made a sound. Yes, it's just the two of you. Hong Tan laughed dryly and said, I don't know if my senior brother knows or not. If he does, I won't be able to explain myself. Every time I go into seclusion, every time I go out, something will happen. There are fewer and fewer people. He looked very embarrassed. Now, the only ones left are me and Jia. I can't explain myself. On the second generation's mount, Elder Long sighed. He said, Hong Tan, the Great Xia Mansion has already stepped out and punished some people. They killed some people. Even Jin Yuhui is dead. Since you've already entered the Sun and Moon, in the future, recruit more students and bring more students. Hong Tan laughed dryly. Elder Long, I'm old. I'm old. How can I have the energy to care about these things? In the past, Bai Feng was the one who did the housework. When I ran out of resources, I went to look for little Yong. Now, these two brats have run away. I'm really old. I'm really lonely. As he spoke, he smiled and looked at the others. He looked at everyone with some sorrow and bitterness. What are you doing? There are only a few people left. My senior brother and the others have left. I even sent my disciples to the battlefield. What are you all doing? I haven't done anything in the past few decades. I really don't have any money to go to the heavenly battlefield. I'm going to kill some demons and earn some money. Am I not low-key enough? You guys want to look for my senior brother? Go look for him. Why have you been looking for us all this while? The multiple divine arts fusion department was banned, so I didn't say anything. The Divine Arts Academy excluded me, so I didn't say anything. My disciple was forced to go to the Vanguard camp, but I didn't say anything. My senior brother's family was killed, and I didn't say anything. Am I not low-key enough? He smiled bitterly. I'm very low-key. Jia's parents were killed, and little Yong cried for me to stand up for him. I said, bear with it. I don't know who did it, but I can't kill the other party. Forget it, bear with it. Elder Long, you've been in seclusion all these years, so you don't know the situation. Ask Elder Qi, am I low-key enough? Elder Qi didn't say anything. Hong Tan smiled bitterly and said, I'm already so low-key. My department has nothing to do with my senior brother's side. If you're looking for my senior brother, then just look for him. Why must you force us to do something? He looked at the crowd, looked at the others, and finally looked at Yuan Qingdong. He smiled and said, this is Mr. Yuan, who is in the exploration realm. Yuan Qingdong nodded slightly and didn't say anything. Wu Yuehua said coldly, this is our vice principal, the supervisor of the Academy of Divine Literature, Feng Qi's identity. It was also leaked by this person. Yuan Qingdong frowned slightly and said, these are all misunderstandings and explanations. For this, I also stood up and apologized. I'm even willing to compensate for the huge losses. Elder Wu, at this time, there's no need to sow discord. Wu Yuehua snorted coldly and ignored him. Yuan Qingdong frowned slightly and said, I haven't congratulated Elder Hong and Principal Zhou. The two of you have advanced to the Sun and Moon today. It is the Great Xia Civilization Academy's joyous occasion and the human race's joyous occasion. Advancing to the sun and moon on the same day is also fate. The two sun and moon were born on the same day. This was fate, an ill fate. Hong Tan smiled and nodded slightly. He asked, "Where is Principal Wan?" "He's in closed-door cultivation." Wu Yuehua said calmly, "Closed-door cultivation." In addition, he's now the acting mansion master and not the official mansion master. He's in closed-door cultivation. Now, everything in the academy is under the responsibility of the Yuan mansion master. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1295. 1295 Chapter 304 Hong Tan Exiting Seclusion, 4. Entering seclusion. Hong Tan smiled and turned his head to look at Zhou Mingren. He smiled and said, "Elder Zhou, many people died in your house. It's really tragic. I don't think anyone died on my side. It seems that my luck is pretty good, right?" Zhou Mingren ignored him. At this moment, there were people constantly sending him voice transmissions to introduce some of the recent events. Hong Tan took a deep breath and smiled. "Forget it, it doesn't seem like I've suffered any losses. It's just that I've disappeared. It's nothing. I'll find him sooner or later. It's nothing. Keep a low profile. Keep a low profile." At this moment, Ji Hong said calmly, "Don't keep a low profile. What's there to keep a low profile for? Yuan Qingdong, announce what Elder Hong is going to do next." Yuan Qingdong frowned slightly. After a long while, he said in a low voice, "The Great Xia Civilization Academy is about to rebuild the Multi-Divine Arts Fusion Academy. Elder Hong Tan is going to be the dean. This is what Su Yu requested. He wants to revitalize the Multi-Divine Arts Department, so all the major manners have this request." Su Yu. Hong Tan couldn't help but laugh. He still has this ability. Not bad, not bad. Rebuilding the Multi-Divine Arts Academy is also fine. Me being the dean? Sure. Yuan Qingdong was silent for a moment, then, he said, "The disappearance of the Divine Inscriptions Battle Technique tablet is the origin of the multiple Divine Inscriptions department. I hope that Elder Hong can retrieve it. This isn't my request or order. This is the rule. Without the Divine Inscriptions Battle Technique tablet, the school will not be able to open it. In addition, according to rumors, Elder Hong has mastered a technique that can allow aerial realm and above Divine Inscriptions masters to reconstruct the Divine Inscriptions and rebuild the Divine Inscriptions battle technique. The school hopes that Elder Hong can report this technique to the public. Recombine the Divine Runes." Hong Tan was stunned for a moment. He looked at him and said with a smile, "What do you mean?" "No." Yuan Qingdong frowned slightly and said, "Elder Hong, you've misunderstood. I don't mean that." This was indeed not what he meant. However, at this moment, he was also curious. Was it true or false? Recombine the Divine Runes battle technique? Even when it was in the air. Was it nonsense, or was it true? If it was real, he didn't dare to imagine what kind of consequences this would cause. Hong Tan took a deep breath and looked in the direction of the Heart Cultivation Pavilion. Very quickly, he turned his head to look in the direction of the Great Xia Manor and smiled. What was he doing? "These old bastards, are you unwilling to let me die? I've kept such a low profile. Look, my grand disciple has escaped, and my disciple has gone missing. I haven't said a word, yet you insist on forcing me. What are you doing? These old bastards, they had to force me to fall out with them." Many thoughts flashed through his mind. The splitting method. I didn't tell a few people, right? Bai Feng knew, Su Yu knew, and Chen Yong knew. In addition, Xia Shower and Myriad Sage could roughly guess a bit, and Ji Hong could also roughly guess a bit. Apart from that, there was nothing else, right? Now, you want me to teach? Teach your grandpa. What exactly are these people trying to do? If they don't know about this, will they be in big trouble? If they are in big trouble, all the scoundrels in the world will have to run over to my side to find out the truth. All the clans, all the enemies, all the people who want to suppress me. He was slightly stunned. All the scoundrels in the world, are all running over to my side. All of them want to come to the Great Xia Manor, all of them want to come to my place, all of them want to investigate me, all of them want to monitor me. All the bad guys in the world want to come. His mind wandered. This thought flashed through his mind time and time again. All the bad guys in the world wanted to come. How many would come? There would definitely be a lot of them. So many that, those who wanted me dead, those who wanted the Divine Arts Department to not rise again, he would have to come. Whether it was to investigate the situation or to feel the truth, there would definitely be a lot of people coming. What was he trying to do? Turn the Great Xia Manor and the Great Xia Civilization Academy into a den of bandits? Hong Tan glanced at Yuan Qingdong and smiled. Yuan Mansion Master, don't listen to the wind and rain. There's no such thing. It doesn't exist. Yuan Qingdong said calmly, someone said that Bai Feng once used a divine literature battle technique to split it. Did he? Hong Tan smiled. Did you see wrongly? Yuan Qingdong was silent. After a while, he said again, Elder Hong, I have no intention to go against Elder Hong. However, if he did, this is a big matter, not a small matter. This is also the foundation for Elder Hong to establish the Multi-Divine Literature Academy. Did he really have this technique? He was a little nervous, but the other elders were also a little nervous. Did he really have it? Could it really be possible? Could it really outline the divine literature battle technique? Hong Tan's thoughts flashed rapidly. After a long while, he said dryly, actually, it's not mature at all. Currently, it's only effective on some soaring sky realm geniuses. As soon as these words were said, even if he said that it was only effective on soaring sky realm geniuses, the next moment, the surroundings fell silent and trembled. The sound of heartbeats could be clearly heard at this moment. It really was there. Yuan Qingdong's throat felt sore as he said stiffly, Elder Hong, are you saying that, you, have mastered this technique? Not exactly. Hong Tan smiled and said, to say that I have mastered it, that would be overestimating me. I've only tested it on my disciple once, but only my disciple Bai Feng has completed it once. As for the specific reorganization, I've never tested it or tried it. Currently, it can only have a certain effect on soaring into the sky. I still need more experimental data and more cases to prove all of this. The core technology is all with Elder Honggu. It doesn't count as any core technology. This is just a simple attempt. Hong Tan smiled and said, if it's useful to the mountains and seas, then it counts as a core technology. Right now. It's just a so-so. No. Yuan Qingdong was shocked, he said in shock, soaring, there are too many humans soaring in the sky. Many people in the soaring realm have drawn a lot of divine runes. Many people are in a hurry to fly and have not had the time to draw a lot of divine runes. The willpower to cultivate nature is also not enough to support so many divine runes. Soaring in the sky is possible. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1296. 1296 Chapter 304 Hong Tan Exiting Seclusion, 5. Don't think that just by raising one level, the result would be completely different. If it was said that out of the previous 10,000 people, one person was suitable to cultivate multiple divine runes, and if it was possible to fly, then out of 10,000 people, it would be 11,000 people. Such a ratio could be popularized among civilized masters. He didn't expect that Hong Tan would really know. This was real, this was actually real. Hong Tan saw the shock in his eyes, and he also saw the shock and greed in the eyes of the others. He smiled. This is what you want to see. You're really bold. You're too bold. Before you were prepared, you actually took the initiative to reveal this. Are you crazy? Crazy is good. No one dared to believe that you guys would be crazy enough to make a joke out of this. In other words, you guys don't want to think about it anymore. Want to flip the table? Hong Tan's eyes flickered. He said with a smile, this technique can't be considered too amazing. There are many flaws in it, and there are also many flaws. I still need a lot of time to perfect it. Previously, I just casually discussed it with a few old friends. Which bastard is spouting nonsense to the public? He was somewhat speechless and said gloomily, who spread it? Wu Yuehua said unhappily, that B***starred Xia Yuan said it. He said that Bai Feng might be able to disassemble the divine text battle technique. After disassembling it, he might be able to supplement it again. Xia Yuan. Hong Tan was slightly taken aback. Wu Yuehua stared at him again and said with a frown, you idiot. He was just casually spouting nonsense, but he was actually scammed out. This time, we're in big trouble. This bastard, do you know? If you admit it, you'll be in big trouble. She was just thinking that this bastard wouldn't be so stupid as to deny it. Who knew? F***ck, idiot, he actually admitted it. He admitted it voluntarily. Wu Yuehua's lungs were about to explode from anger. Did he go into seclusion and become a fool? Hong Tan seemed to have realized something. He quickly said, it's just a small technique. Really, it's not perfect at all. Bai Feng is originally from the Multi-Divine Literature Department and has a divine literature battle technique. This thing is built on the foundation of the divine literature battle technique and cannot be filled in later. Really, don't misunderstand. Everyone had doubts in their hearts. Yuan Qingdong was also doubtful and said in a low voice, Elder Hong, if this technique really exists, it will expand and strengthen the Multi-Divine Literature Department. It will even cause great changes in the entire field of civilized masters. Is it true or false? It hasn't been perfected yet. Hong Tan said seriously, this is true, but I have this idea and this train of thought. I think that if I have 3 to 5 years, I will definitely be able to perfect it. As you all know, Bai Feng almost died because of this. He still has this divine arts combat technique in the first place. If he doesn't have it, if he rashly combines it, it will be a dead end. In 3 to 5 years, I think we should be able to eliminate the side effects and let some of them soar into the sky to carry out experiments. At that time, we can say that this is a mature technology. It can't be considered now. He shook his head and sighed. Besides, Bai Feng isn't here, Su Yu is gone, and Chen Yong is missing. I have no interest in developing these now. Let's seal the technology. We'll talk about it when we have time. Yuan Qingdong's eyes flickered as he said, then Elder Honggu isn't willing to build the Duo Shenwen Academy anymore. Build, of course, we have to build. If we don't build, how can we seduce people? Wan Tiansheng, Xia Shower, you guys want to play, right? Fine, I'll play with you guys. Play big. Hong Tan gnashed his teeth in his heart. Since you guys don't want to pass, I won't let you pass. If you want to play, I'll play with you guys. He hesitated for a moment, he shook his head and said, I don't have enough funds. The polytheistic department consumes resources to begin with. In addition, I still have to experiment and develop. I'll start with at least 1 million merit points. In addition, even if I recruit students, I won't recruit everyone. I'll pay at least 10,000 merit points in tuition fees so that they can be self-sufficient. Moreover, to put it bluntly, I'm afraid that other people will repeat the same mistake and become the next Chen Yong or Bai Feng Suyu. If they want to join my polytheistic department again, they won't be able to do so without a backing. Otherwise, I'm afraid that they won't be able to hold on and will have to run away in 3 to 5 days. I won't protect them one by one. It's too troublesome. I don't have the mood to do it now. The other's eyes flickered. Yuan Qingdong said in a deep voice, I think that if Elder Hong can really extrapolate the development of this technology, many people are willing to support Elder Hong. Troublesome. Hong Tan smiled. Then, he glanced at Yuan Qingdong, he said indifferently, Yuan Mansion Master, let's talk about it later. Moreover, some things might not be a good thing if they are spread out. I'll pretend that you didn't mention it today. I didn't say it. Don't find trouble for yourself either. After saying that, he sighed and walked away. He sighed and said, my 2 disciples are gone. Chen Yong is still missing. Chen Yong is not here. Why would I have the mood to get these things? I wonder who will benefit from it. Sigh. Hong Tan sighed and left with his back hunched. Behind him, the experts were silent. Even Zhou Mingren was frowning at this moment. The divine literature battle technique was being split and reassembled. This news also made him a little shocked. The technique hadn't been perfected yet, and it could be perfected within 3 to 5 years. Was it true or false? They understood what Hong Tan meant at the end. Only when Chen Yong returned did he have the mood to talk about these things. Was this fellow intentionally deceiving people in order to save his disciple? Or did he treat this technique as the capital for the revival of the Divine Arts Department? Hong Tan, who was walking in front, gradually turned cold and stern. You want to play? Just you wait. I'm just afraid that you guys won't be able to hold back in the end. At that time. I'm afraid that corpses will be strewn all over the place. That's good too. At this stage, he had nothing to worry about. That brat Bai Feng was too weak. It was best to send him away. Chen Yong. This brat couldn't get away. It was good that Suyu had left. As for Wuxia. This girl, it was best not to get involved. He would find an opportunity to send her away. Xia Longwu is still here. Some people might not have the guts to come. If you can't catch the big ones, are you satisfied just by killing some small shrimps? He still had a trace of doubt. Xia Longwu was the ocean-pacifying needle. In the great Xia mansion, there might not be people who would dare to come. Just as he was thinking about this, suddenly, he heard someone whisper, "Did you hear? Our mansion master secretly went out to kill someone. Someone saw the heaven-cleaving knife in the wilderness, and with one slash, it cut down an unlucky myriad clan sex mountain and sea. The mansion master went out. I heard it from someone, but I don't know if it's true or not. Isn't our mansion master going into seclusion to verify his Tao? That's probably a lie. There are many people who know how to use the heaven-splitting blade. Of course, only the direct descendants of the Xia family are able to slash through mountains and seas with a single strike. How can there be so many people? Xiao'er is still in the Manor City, and the great Xia king has long gone to the heavens battlefield. Who else could kill a mountain and sea realm expert with a single strike? Hong Tan was slightly stunned. Damn, this was all prepared. Xia Longwu ran out. Was this an accident, or was it on purpose? Without Xia Longwu and the Emperor of Great Xia, the current Great Xia residence was like an unguarded big fish to many people. The strength of the Great Xia residence was strong, but without those few people, there would be no one to rule the country. This would be interesting. Hong Tan laughed. They really dared to do it. The Xia family, the myriad heaven saint. They had all gone crazy. Then let's go crazy together. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1297. 1297 Chapter 305 Geniuses Were Just for Fun 1. Daming Manor. In the Research Institute, Su had also received the news. As he ate, he asked in surprise, "My grandmaster has come out of closed-door cultivation?" Wen Zhong, Jin Sheng, and the others were also present. When Zhong nodded, the manor head said that when he went out this morning, he said that Elder Hong and Zhou Mingren had both come out of closed-door cultivation and advanced to the Sun-Moon realm at about the same time. The Great Xia Manor still has a deep foundation and is very strong. Suddenly, there are 2 more Sun-Moons. Hong Tan isn't that old. As he spoke, he was a little envious. There were many elders in the Great Ming Manor, but they were not very powerful. In the Great Xia Manor, the old died quickly. It had to be said that the young were very powerful. Yes, Hong Tan was a young man. Even the 10,000 heavenly saints could be considered a young man. In any case, he was around 100 years old, so he could be considered a young man. Jin Xing smiled and said, "This can't be helped. One dares to fight and kill, while the other is doing research at the back. If the strength of the research is even stronger than those who are on the battlefield, then there is no justice." You can't say that. It depends on talent, luck, and opportunity. The elders started to argue, and Su Yu couldn't help but laugh. He quickly said, "Senior brothers, let's not talk about this anymore. Have you made any progress with the method of closing the spirit aperture recently?" "No." The few of them were depressed and didn't say anything. Soon, when Zhong regained his composure, he smiled and said, "Don't be anxious, and don't talk about us. You should pay a visit to the Bai family. Your primordial spirit aperture hasn't been discovered yet. I think it might not be because you don't have enough apertures. The number of apertures you have opened is definitely more than Bai Tianhao's. If Bai Tianhao can discover it, why can't you?" Su Yu thought for a moment and nodded. That was true. He had wanted to pay a visit to the Bai family several times, but in the end, he always had matters to attend to. It was time to pay a visit to the Bai family. He had opened many apertures, but in the end, he still hadn't discovered his primordial spirit aperture. What exactly was the problem? He hadn't obtained the immortal blood essence yet, so he didn't have anything to do in the next few days. Then should he pay a visit to the Bai family? The Bai family. Bai Junsheng. It wasn't appropriate to go there rashly. Should he go and have a chat with Bai Junsheng? Thinking of this, Su Yu pulled on the food and said while eating, "That's true. Then I'll pay a visit in the afternoon." Is it in line with the Deming Mansion's etiquette to pay a visit in the afternoon? Cultivators don't care about these things. When Zhong smiled and said, "Do you want me to accompany you?" "There's no need. I can go alone." Su Yu declined with a smile. He thought for a moment and asked, "I don't know much about the Bai family situation. I don't know if it's rude of me to rashly look at the treasures of the Bai family's patriarch." Jin Xing chuckled and said, "That's easy. The Bai family is a warrior family. Bai Junsheng is the only son of the Bai family's eldest son. Now that his body has entered the sky, you don't lack some blood essence of gods and demons. It shouldn't be difficult for the Bai family to take out Bai Tianhao's information. Bai Junsheng needed to cast a body to enter the sky. Up until now, he probably hadn't even cast a body. On the side of the Bai family, the family head was Bai Feng's grandfather. He was in closed-door cultivation, and he was at the Mountain Sea realm. He hadn't come out of his closed-door cultivation for many years. Boss Bai and Bai Feng's father, second brother Bai, were both Ling Yun, so it was very difficult for them to obtain powerful god and devil essence blood. If Su Yu gifted some god and devil essence blood, it shouldn't be a problem. On Su Yu's side, the primordial god race and primordial demon race's remaining blood essence was given to Xia Huyo. However, the Great Qin Manor had given him a lot of other god and devil essence blood, so this could be given to Bai Junsheng. Thinking about this, Suyu felt at ease. As for Hong Tan coming out of seclusion, Suyu wasn't too worried. After all, it was the sun and moon, and it was the sun and moon of the multi-god literature department. What was the point of him worrying about Hong Tan? It wasn't like his grandmaster couldn't tolerate it. He was someone who could. As for the news of the splitting method that came faintly, Suyu didn't want to ask about it. He didn't want to talk about it. This matter wasn't normal. They had agreed at the beginning that they couldn't rashly spread it. Now that it was known by everyone, it was very abnormal. Of course, the outside world didn't know much about this now. They only knew that Hong Tan had mastered top-secret technology, which was enough to set off a revolution among civilized masters. Now, the focus of the human realm was indeed on that side. This was also a good thing. Suyu's side had lost a lot of attention. Grandmaster, take it on yourself. If it doesn't work, just go into seclusion again. Suyu thought to himself and smiled. The only thing he was worried about now was Chen Yong. A total of 10 Sun-Moon Realm warriors had gone out to look for him, but there was still no news. He didn't know what Chen Yong was doing. Logically speaking, the commotion was quite big. If Chen Yong had come into contact with people, he should have known about it. Even if it was for revenge, he could use this opportunity to kill someone. Suyu was ready to pay a visit to the Bai family in the afternoon. Now that Grandmaster had come out of closed-door cultivation for Chen Yong's matter, he would see how Grandmaster would handle it. He had the heart but not the strength. Just as Suyu was thinking about Chen Yong. At the same time. Great Desolate Mountain. Eastern region of the human realm. Close to the eastern region of the Rising Sky Sea. The human realm had 3 major sea regions. The Rising Sky Sea in the east, the Falling Sky Sea in the west, the Boundless Sea in the south, and the Heavenly Residences in the north. They were all considered dangerous places for humans. At this moment, in a cave in the Great Desolate Mountain, Chen Yong was leaning against the wall, grilling a demonic beast. Beside him, Feng Qi's face was pale and his chest was stained with blood. He leaned on the other side and said with a smile, "Chen Yong, your skills are getting better and better. When the day comes when you can't fight anymore, you can open a restaurant." Chen Yong smiled and did not say anything. After grilling the demonic beast, he tore a piece of leg meat and threw it to him. He ate it silently and after eating for a while, he said softly, "You can still hold on, right? I won't die." "That's good." Chen Yong smiled and quickly said, "After eating this meal, go to the Rising Sky Sea." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1298. 1298 Chapter 305, Geniuses are just for fun too. Feng Qi nodded and did not ask further. Chen Yong could not help but laugh. "You're still the same as back then. You didn't even say a word. It's been so many years, and you still haven't changed. I'm used to it." Feng Qi also laughed. "Then tell me, why did you go to Heaven Ascending Sea?" "To kill people." Chen Yong said calmly, "To kill a few enemies." Feng Qi nodded again but still did not ask. Chen Yong was helpless and could only take the initiative to ask, "Do you know who to kill?" "I don't know." "Then nod your head." "My life. You saved it. You can kill whoever you want." Chen Yong could not help but laugh and slowly said, "Since I've come out this time, I'm not prepared to go back so quickly. It's a rare opportunity to come out, and no one is watching me now. It's a rare opportunity. Do you still remember Little Hat?" "Yes, that guy with a bald head. He wasn't used to not wearing a hat. Later, you expelled him from the polytheistic literature department, right?" "Yes." Chen Yong said calmly, "Back then, I expelled them in the hope that the polytheistic literature department could keep some seeds. In the end, even after I expelled them, some people still didn't let them go. Little Hat went to the ascending heaven sea to collect some things and died here. Later, I got people to investigate in secret. It wasn't an accident that he died. He was tricked and killed. It wasn't just Little Hat. Most of the people I expelled back then died, and not many survived. As he spoke, he chuckled, "It's not just them. Junior brother and I didn't leave the academy too often. In addition, Master had been keeping an eye on us all this time, and we barely managed to survive. In these past few years, how many experts from the Divine Literature Department have died?" Feng Qi nodded, "I can see that. In these past few years, too many experts from the Divine Literature Department have died. If we don't pay attention, we won't know. If we pay attention, we'll be able to discover that too many have died. Yes, we were targeted in the heavenly battlefield, so the myriad races killed our people. There was no choice, but many of them died while carrying out missions in the human realm. I've secretly checked the information. The Heavenly Ascension Sea has the highest number of deaths, and Little Hat died here as well." He ate a mouthful of meat and slowly said, "I suspect that this might be that fellow's lair. The one in the dark." "Yes." He nodded slightly. Chen Yong said calmly, "Therefore, I have the intention to take revenge this time. I will kill some people and see if I can force that guy out. Even if I don't force him out, I will alert him and let him know that we might have found out his identity and make him jump out again. He has already come out a few times. Now, he is desperate and about to go crazy. He must be worried that his identity will be exposed and force him to show himself." Feng Qi gnawed on his thigh and thought for a while. Could he have killed the wrong person? "No, I won't kill him without evidence." Chen Yong said. He smiled and said, "After killing him, go to the rising sky sea to hide. After forcing that guy to show himself and not showing himself, I still have to kill him. It's not like I haven't done anything in the past few years. I have more or less grasped some information. It's very likely that they are all his people. They are not his people, and they are not good people. I will kill them one by one." Feng Qi nodded. He pondered for a while and said, "The Tianqing Sea region is close to the Great Qi Manor. The Great Qi King died in battle 160 years ago. Now, the one who controls the Great Qi Manor is the son of the Great Qi King, Qi Xian. There's no invincible realm here, and there's no invincible realm in the Tianqing Sea region. Then, who do you think is the invincible realm? Could it be the Dajin Manor in the east? The King of Dajin?" Chen Yong smiled and said, "I don't know. If I know, why would I need to test him? Even if I force that invincible out, I can't do anything to him. As long as he's exposed, that's fine. If he's exposed, I'll keep an eye on him. Sooner or later, I'll find a way to deal with him. The biggest problem now is that he's not exposed." Then, Chen Yong smiled and said, "I don't care. If he doesn't dare to come out, then it's best to take the opportunity to kill his lackeys. These people are also executioners. Their hands are stained with the blood of our many divine languages department. Little Hat and the others can't die in vain. I must avenge them." Feng Qi didn't say anything else. The two of them ate in silence. After finishing their food, Chen Yong cleaned up the scene. He said with a smile, "On the way, bring the few dogs behind us for a walk. It's best to bring them to the Ascension Sea. Dogs biting dogs is the best. However, I suspect that the Six Wings Divine Sect might be in cahoots with those guys. It depends on whether their master has informed each other. It was best if they hadn't informed each other. Dogs biting dogs was the best. If they had informed each other, it would be good as well. It would confirm his guess. These two sides were in cahoots." Very soon, Chen Yong and Feng Qi left this place. This time, Chen Yong came out to kill people. It wasn't that he didn't have any information networks. On the contrary, he knew that many people were looking for him. That martial nephew of his had even arranged for the sun and moon to look for him. He was very touched, but he didn't want to go back. He had endured in the academy for too many years. This was a rare opportunity, and he had finally escaped from the academy. Since he had come out, he wouldn't go back unless he killed a river of blood. He would use this opportunity to kill a group of people that he had wanted to kill in the past, but didn't have the chance to do so. After leaving the cave, Chen Yong quickly changed his appearance. In the blink of an eye, he dived underground. On the ground, Feng Qi continued to walk cautiously as bait. However, the shadow was slightly different. His shadow was slightly thicker. Hong Tan had been capturing the shadow for many years. The shadow had once said that his innate skill was about to deteriorate because too much of his blood essence had been extracted. And that period was when Chen Yong had been studying under Hong Tan for the longest time. Feng Qi with injuries, two people with this cooperation, along the way, has killed many strong enemies. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1299. 1299 Chapter 305 Geniuses were all just for fun 3. Feng Qi quickly ran away, extremely careful. Not long after they left, several figures flashed. Mountain Sea Realm. There was also a Sun-Moon Realm. They were all wearing black masks and didn't have any other characteristics. The person leading them wore a mask with a hint of silver. After observing for a while, he said in a low voice, "Not long after we left, there's still some residual heat." As he spoke, he looked outside the cave. "If we go further east, we will reach the rising sky and the sea." Behind them, someone said in a low voice, "Cult Master, are we still chasing?" These few days, there have been many strongholds being besieged. The Quest Realm has already sent out 8 Sun and Moon Realm experts to search us. The foundation of the divine cult has already been damaged. They are all cannon fodder. If they die, they die. There are many such trash. The human realm does not lack people. The people who do not lack are those who want immortality and strength. With that, he said coldly, "Chen Yong and Feng Qi must die. These 2 bastards have killed many of our experts. If we don't kill them, I will feel unjust." Behind them, the few mountains and seas didn't say anything. Along the way, a few mountain and sea realm experts had died. Now that they were almost at the Ascension Sea Realm, they didn't really want to chase after them. Furthermore, the 8 great clans were searching for them, so they were in a very dangerous situation. Seeing that the mountains and seas were silent, Sun and Moon knew what they were thinking. They said calmly, "This is also what the 6-winged celestial race wants. Chen Yong must die. Either kill Chen Yong, kill Su Yu, or kill Hong Tan. Which do you choose?" The few of them were speechless. Kill Su Yu, forget it. He was under the protection of the Daming Manor, and a batch of Sun and Moon had just died a few days ago. Killing Hong Tan, he had advanced to the Sun and Moon Realm, and he was still in the Great Xia Mansion. What was the point of killing him? No matter how much they thought about it, killing Chen Yong was the easiest. They didn't say anything else, but they were depressed. They had to kill Chen Yong now. They didn't know what the cult master was thinking. As for the 6-winged celestial race, who cared? They weren't in the human realm anyway, so there was nothing to be afraid of. Joining the 6-winged celestial race was for immortality and to strengthen themselves, not to throw away their lives. The 6-winged religious leader knew what they were thinking. He smiled and said, "Don't think that we are asking you to throw away your lives. If we succeed this time, all of you will have a chance to enter the deity lake of the 6-winged god world. Perhaps you can complete the integration of your acupoints within a few days and advance to the Sun and Moon realm. I'm just afraid that we won't have the life to enjoy it." Someone said in a low voice, "If we also want to enter the Sun and Moon realm, we have to live. That's enough. The six-winged god sect master said in a low voice, don't talk about this. The vice sect master has already brought people to lure the sun and moon away. Now, we're safe. It's even more dangerous over there. The few of them didn't say anything, although they were unwilling. But since they had already reached this point, there was nothing they could do. Let's go. As they spoke, the Sun and Moon Realm expert identified the direction and quickly chased after Feng Qi. Not long after, there was a loud rumble. A Mountain Sea Realm expert spat out blood and was sent flying. The others quickly scattered. After a while, the smoke and dust dissipated and the Sun-Moon Realm expert went forward to investigate. He sneered, continue chasing. Chen Yong and the others have used countless divine talismans along the way. I don't believe he has many left. Under the mask, the Mountain Sea Realm expert spat out blood and had a face full of bad luck. Luckily, they were prepared. It was their first time that they were unlucky. A Mountain and Sea Realm warrior was directly killed by the explosion. Chen Yong, that fellow, had collected countless things over the years. Wasn't he a pauper with more divine runes? Where did he get these divine talismans? Without saying anything else, the few of them quickly chased after him. Since there was a trap, it meant that they were chasing in the right direction. Daming Manor, Weapon Forging Academy. This was the first time Su Yu knew that Bai Junsheng was a student of Weapon Forging Academy. He thought that this fellow was also from Beast Tamer Academy. After asking around, he found out that this fellow was from the Weapon Forging faculty. In the huge weapon forging workshop, Su Yu found Bai Junsheng, who was hammering on his weapon. Around him, some students and teachers were a little surprised to see Su Yu. However, it was enough for them to take a look. They weren't too familiar with each other, so not many people went up to greet him. Bai Junsheng also saw Su Yu. At this moment, he was hammering on a curved hook-shaped weapon. He smiled and said, Su Yu, are you looking for me? Yes, forging weapons. Yes, how is it? Isn't it amazing? Bai Junsheng laughed and said, look at the weapons I'm forging. Yellow rank elementary, advanced, and 7 golden patterns. Even among yellow rank elementary, I'm already a top-tier civil soldier. My willpower is what nourishes my character. When I'm in the air, I'll definitely be able to forge a middle-grade or even high-grade yellow-rank literary soldier. When I'm in the 7th layer of the air, I'll be able to forge a top-tier yellow-rank literary soldier. When I'm in the Lingyun realm, I'll be able to forge a black-rank literary soldier. When I'm in the Mountain and Sea realm, I'll be able to forge an earth-rank literary soldier. When I'm in the Sun and Moon realm, I'll be a heaven-grade military master. Su Yu was speechless. Seeing this, Bai Junsheng laughed and said, what, you don't believe me? I'm still very talented in forging weapons. If you don't believe me, you can ask someone else. At this moment, there was a sturdy young man beside him who laughed and said, it's not bad. I'm not too boastful. I can cast a yellow rank weapon, but it's not as good as mine. I can cast an 8 gold inscription weapon. This place was filled with weapon forging divisions. Of course, there were strong and weak. If one could cast an advanced rank weapon in the air, they would be considered a genius. In the Great Xia Manor, there were not many people in the weapon forging division. There were only a few who could cast an advanced rank weapon in the weapon forging division. Bai Junsheng said that his weapon forging department wasn't bad, and it wasn't considered bragging. The 8 steeds of the celestial capital had some real abilities. This fellow's body soared into the air, and his spirit forging department was able to forge weapons. It was worthy of the name of the 8 steeds. Su Yu smiled and said, not bad, not bad. Not bad. Bai Junsheng was anxious, Su Yu, this is not bad, but I'm not willing to listen to it. My weapon forging skills, even in the Great Xia Manor, are top-notch. Your Great Xia Manor probably doesn't have any students who can compare to me. The great Xia Manor's weapon forging department has long declined, and there aren't many who have real abilities. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1300. 1300 Chapter 305 Geniuses were just for fun for. Su Yu frowned slightly and looked at him. There are still strong people in the great Xia Manor's weapon forging department. He knew that Bai Junsheng might not know the situation, but he was still not too happy. He said in a deep voice, the great Xia Manor's weapon forging department, Teacher Zhao Li, is a top-notch weapon forging division. His weapon forging techniques are first class. Bai Junsheng said in a bad mood, I know Teacher Zhao Li, but his weapon forging techniques are first class. If you say that a black rank weapon forging division is first class, then what is an earth rank one? The great Xia Manor's weapon forging was not good to begin with. After the fall of the fourth generation head of the great Xia Academy of Civilization, the weapon forging was getting worse by the day. Those with some ability also went to the great Zhou Manor. That principal Zhao Tianbing is a top-notch weapon forging expert. Su Yu didn't say a word. He immediately started to prepare the ingredients. Bai Junsheng was stunned for a moment. What are you doing? Weapon forging. You know how to do it. I don't. Then you. Su Yu said calmly, I listened to a total of 3 lessons at Zhao Li Laosher's place. In less than 5 hours, I didn't mean anything else. I just wanted to say that if you can't forge a weapon, then cut it out. You don't have the right to judge a weapon forging master. Bai Junsheng was speechless. After a long while, he said, Are you serious? Don't waste materials. If you think I'm wrong, I'll apologize. Master Zhao Li is very strong. Cut the crap. Even if it's my first time forging weapons, with Teacher Zhao Li's guidance, I'm still stronger than you. Su Yu snorted, feeling a little unhappy. This fellow was looking down on Teacher Zhao Li. In Su Yu's view, Zhao Lizai was the top master. If he hadn't been a little rash in the past, he would have become an Earth-rank army forger in the Shanhai realm. He might even be able to cast Earth-rank soldiers. Among other things, a God-expanding formula is the top of the magic. Extract materials, the 5 elements, fire, word, sacred text melting extraction, water, word sacred text condensed, wind, word sacred text quenching, gold, word sacred text edge. Gradually, a few people gathered around. It was obvious that this was Su Yu's first time operating it. However, he knew the process. Although his technique was a little rusty, it was obvious that he had learned it before. It should have come from the guidance of a master. He said that he had attended a class at Zhao Li's place, and everyone believed him. A top-grade mystic rank weapon forging master was actually not weak. There were actually not many Earth-rank weapon forging masters in Daming Manor. Extraction, tempering, quenching. After completing the procedures, Su Yu took a deep breath and struck out with his spirit-expanding hammer. Again and again. Ping ping ping. His speed was extremely fast, and every strike created a wave of air. Gradually, a golden pattern appeared on the pitch-black blade. 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Someone bared his teeth. F***ck, this endurance was the limit to one's character. Normally, one wouldn't be able to last this long after fighting for 20 minutes. At this moment, Su Yu had already struck out 5 golden inscriptions. At the side, Bai Junsheng bared his teeth and said, This is cheating. You have already emptied your space. Shut up. At the side, a teacher berated, that is Master Zhao Li's unique technique. Even though we are both of the same cultivation realm, you can't last longer than him. This should be Su Yu's first time forging. His technique is a little rusty and his essence is lacking. You have studied for several years, but compared to a person who has studied for a few hours, is this fair? Bai Junsheng was speechless. At this moment, Suyu did not say anything and continued forging. He knew that his technique was a little rusty. He had made a few mistakes in forging and almost destroyed this literary weapon. The first time, he was too unskilled, and the ratio of materials was also a little out of balance. However, he relied on his strong willpower to expand the mysteries of the divine hammer. There were many divine runes, and he constantly adjusted it. Gradually, more and more golden patterns appeared on the small black knife. 7, 8, 9. After forging 9, Bai Junxing grimaced, he said helplessly, "All right, you are amazing." "I apologize, all right. Zhao Li Laoshi is really amazing." "I didn't say that he isn't amazing. Didn't you say that he hasn't reached Earth rank yet? This is the truth." He didn't lie. He hasn't reached Earth rank yet. Suyu ignored him and continued forging. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. The surrounding students and teachers were already dumbfounded by what they saw. F***ck. How can you forge for 3 hours in a row? How strong is your willpower? At this moment, there were 18 golden inscriptions on the weapon. Suyu frowned slightly and shook his head. Putting away the god-expanding hammer, he threw the small knife to Bai Junxing without any change in his expression. He said, "My technique isn't up to par, and I made some mistakes in the ratio. There are also some problems with the materials I used. The same goes for quenching, otherwise, with the same materials, Zhao Li Laoshi would be able to forge at least 30 golden inscriptions." At this moment, the people around him were all grimacing in pain as they looked at him. Peak Yellow Intermediate Stage. It was his first time forging a weapon. There was no justice in this. If he was proficient in this time, Suyu would probably be able to forge a yellow advanced stage weapon. Under normal circumstances, an expert at the soaring stage and a forging expert would probably be able to forge a yellow advanced stage weapon. As for the top stage, many of them were forged at the Lingyun stage. People like Zhao Li who were able to forge a top-level black-rank scribe at the Lingyun realm were actually extremely rare or not visible. The main reason was that his willpower was not strong enough, so there was no way for him to complete forging above 64 golden patterns. Without 64 golden patterns, he would not be considered a top-level black-rank scribe. As for Suyu, he did not care about this. He thought to himself that his 5 elements divine script was not bad for forging weapons. Moreover, when he was forging weapons, the divine script was also being forged. He had always wanted to forge weapons, he could learn from them. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1301. 1301 Chapter 305 Geniuses were just for fun 5. He did not forget that he was going to help Zhao Li forge a weapon when he reached Lingyun realm. That was an earth-grade weapon. Without any foundation, he wanted to forge an earth-grade weapon after forging a yellow-grade intermediate-level weapon. Stop fooling around. It would be good if he did not cause trouble for his teacher. While he was thinking about this, beside him, an old man sighed. This is Zhao Li's expanding the spirit technique, right? The technique is also his Zhao clan's weapon forging technique. You said that you learned it for 5 hours, but I think you're being groomed as his last disciple. Your talent is very good. I'm talking about your weapon forging talent. It's a pity that your other talents are stronger and more useful. You can't spend too much time on weapon forging, it's really a pity. It was really a pity. This old man's strength was not weak. He was close to the peak of Lingyun. After a while, he sighed, he smiled and said, if you study hard for a few months and gain a little more experience, you'll probably be able to forge a top-tier yellow rank weapon. If you have time, you can come here to play. My teacher also said that you have talent in this area. Your foundation is very good. Suyu was slightly startled. Your teacher. Teacher who? The old man smiled and said, I'm her student. Suyu was startled and hurriedly said, Greetings teacher, I'm just making a fool of myself. I was just joking with Bai Junsheng. This fellow forged an early-stage yellow rank scribe, yet he insisted on saying that others can't do it. Bai Junsheng was extremely depressed. I was telling the truth, but this fellow even complained. The old man laughed, what does he know? This kid, just because he has some talent, he needs to be taught a lesson. Let him know that there is always someone better than him. Zhao Li is one of the top-tier profound rank weapon forging masters, or perhaps even the #1 person. He doesn't have the main god text, and just relied on the supplementary god text to forge 72 golden patterns of a weapon. This isn't something that anyone can do. An ordinary earth rank weapon forging master, even if they just entered, would find it difficult to do so. Bai Junsheng didn't mind being said, and quickly said, Teacher, is Grandmaster Zhao Li so powerful? But I know of him, but I've never heard of him. His weapons are circulating outside. This was also the reason why he felt that Zhao Li wasn't very good. The most important thing for a weapon forging master was to see which expert used your weapon and become famous. The old man laughed, he has a strange temper. It's normal that he won't help someone he doesn't like to forge. It's only because you don't know much. Our academy has a literary soldier forged by him, and the one Wen Zhong used was forged by him. It's top-notch. Bai Junsheng came to a realization. That literary soldier. I know, it's really top-notch. I heard that it's not inferior to an Earth-grade literary soldier. Teacher Wen spent all of his wealth to forge it, and I thought that he had asked Elder Hu to forge it. So it turned out to be Teacher Zhao Li. The old man smiled and nodded. So, next time, if you don't know anything, don't pretend that you know everything. You'll be a disgrace. After lecturing Bai Junsheng, he looked at Suyu again and said, let's not talk about other things. When you have time, you can come and play. Treat it as a seasoning. For a genius like you, you can actually make a difference in everything you learn and focus on one line. It's enough that you know a little about other things. If you can forge a profound grade literary soldier, you can eat anything you want. The others were ashamed. F***ck. Creating a profound rank literary soldier. This was called playing around. If one knew a little bit about it, then their teacher really looked up to Suyu and looked down on them. They were really disappointed. Was this what a genius was like? The career that you spent your entire life on might just be something that others could casually play around with. Thinking about it, it made sense. Suyu had only studied for a few hours. The first time he created it, he had already created a yellow rank intermediate grade literary soldier. What was there for them to say? A group of students, let alone 18 golden patterns, could even create 10 golden patterns. The entire academy was filled with people. Disappointed. Empty. Suyu also smiled and exchanged a few pleasantries with the old man. Very quickly, he dragged Bai Junsheng out. Bai Junsheng said in fear, No, I just want to say one thing. Why are you so stingy? You're not going to kill me to silence me, are you? Suyu, this is the academy. If it doesn't work, you can just beat me up. Don't kill me. The heck? I only said one sentence. It's one thing for you to slap me in the face, but you still want to kill me? This is too cruel. The killing maniac isn't just a joke. On account of my brother, Suyu, let's talk things over. Bai Junsheng struggled, but Suyu grabbed his arm. He was unable to move, and he was so scared that he nearly peed his pants. Suyu didn't say a word. He dragged him out of the blacksmith school. After they left, he smiled and said, Let's go and pay a visit to my teacher's father. Pay a visit to your father. F***cku. Bai Junsheng really wanted to curse when he heard this. If you have something to say, then say it properly. Why are you scaring me? He almost thought that you were going to drag me into the little forest and kill me. At the same time, he heaved a sigh of relief and said gloomily, pay a visit to my father and my second uncle? I say, it's best that you don't go. My father and second uncle are very dissatisfied with my cousin joining the great Xia Manor's many departments of divine arts. If you go, you might get beaten up. Suyu smiled and said, it's not that serious. No matter what, I'm still a guest of the manor head, right? That's true. Bai Junqing nodded. If you're not afraid of being scolded, then go. It's fine. If I get scolded. Aren't you here? Just help me put in a few good words. Why should I? Halfway through his sentence, Suyu said faintly, because my fists are bigger than yours. Help me put in a good word. Otherwise. When I return to the academy, I'll beat you up every day. Brother Bai, think carefully. Bai Juanqing's expression changed again and again. B*TCH. This fellow actually threatened me. Shameless. My cousin is your master. You actually threatened me and treated me like this. You're really inhuman. Even though he cursed in his heart countless times, the reality was that he was indeed not as big as Suyu's fist. He was very helpless and said with his head lowered, all right, don't be rough. We civilized teachers are all cultured people, we don't fight. Then you hit Zhu Hongyang. He's not as big as my fist. Bai Junqing said it calmly. How simple. I'm not as big as your fist, so I admit defeat. Isn't this obvious? Suyu couldn't help but laugh. Your fist is very big. That iron-eating beast couldn't be bothered with you. Otherwise, he would have killed you with a slap. Without saying anything else, Suyu quickly brought him out of the academy. Bai Junqing was also a talkative person. It was rare for him to have close contact with Suyu. He kept asking questions along the way and asked many questions about Bai Feng. In fact, he didn't know much about Bai Feng. Bai Feng had been away from home for a full 10 years. In the past 10 years, Bai Feng had only returned once and left after staying for a very short period of time. The Bai Feng in his memory was actually very vague. Suyu, of course, said it in a pleasant way. As for the matter of him being beaten 3 times by Huangteng, he did not say it. If he did, Bai Feng's image would collapse. P.S. Number 1, please guarantee a minimum monthly ticket. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1302. 1302 Chapter 306, Yin-Yang Dual Orifices, 1. The Bai family was an old family in Daming Manor. Their ancestor, Bai Tianhao, had also left a deep mark in the history of mankind. Ling Yun had killed a 7th-level mountain and sea realm cultivator with 9 levels of Ling Yun. As for whether it was because of the primordial spirit orifice, there was no way to confirm that. After all, he had been dead for many years, and there were no rumors about the primordial spirit orifices left behind. Some people had actually read the information Bai Tianhao had left behind, but none of them had gained much. In the end, even the Darming King had given up on such research, and could only watch as Bai Tianhao exploded before he died. The Bai clan was located in the eastern city of the capital city, and there were quite a few other well-established clans here. The Bai clan wasn't considered one of the top clans. On the way, Bai Junqing was still talking. Suyu, you came to my house to ask about the ancestor, right? Actually, there's nothing to ask. The ancestor was gifted, that's why he was able to do it. Just like you, you're also strong. That's talent, not some primordial spirit aperture. Now, there are people in the outside world saying that my ancestor might have discovered the primordial spirit aperture. Nonsense. If he had really discovered it, my Bai family would have been rich a long time ago, and I would have learned it a long time ago. Suyu nodded slightly. Let's see. Actually, it wasn't necessarily true that he had high hopes. If Bai Tianhao had really left behind any words, the things related to the primordial spirit aperture would probably have been taken away long ago. Bai residence. There were guards in front of the door. Upon seeing Bai Junsheng, a few guards hurriedly greeted him, "Second young master. Second young master is back." Bai Junsheng laughed and greeted him. He did not exchange pleasantries and strode into the courtyard. Su Yu followed him. Just as he entered the door, he heard a whistling sound. Someone was practicing martial arts. In the courtyard, a young girl was practicing martial arts. She looked to be about 7 or 8 years old. "Bai Yi, your brother is back. Come over now." Bai Junsheng shouted and turned to Su Yu. "This is your martial aunt, my cousin's biological sister. After my cousin left, second uncle and second aunt didn't have anyone to accompany them, so they gave birth to another child." Su Yu was speechless. "A 7 or 8-year-old child, your martial aunt. Cultivators don't talk like this. Bai Feng's sister." Su Yu didn't expect his teacher to have a sister. On the other side, the little girl turned her head over. Her ponytail swayed as she looked at Su Yu curiously. Very soon, she seemed to have recognized Su Yu and ran over excitedly. She hurriedly said, "You're Su Yu? My brother's disciple, is that you?" Su Yu smiled and nodded. "I'm Bai Feng's teacher's student." "It really is you." Bai Yi might have seen Su Yu before, but Su Yu did not have much of an impression of him. Previously, he had publicly cast his body, so there were quite a number of people watching him. Bai Yi said excitedly, "When will my brother be back? I haven't seen him for many years." Bai Junsheng said speechlessly, "You've only seen him once, when he was still very young. What do you remember?" "I'm your brother, that's a fake." "You're the fake." The little girl had an unhappy look on her face. "You're my cousin, that's my biological brother. My brother is so amazing, he's a top-notch expert, a monster civilized master. You're so talented." Bai Junsheng was used to bickering with this little girl, so he didn't care. He chuckled and said, "I'm also soaring, he's also soaring. I'm younger than him, but of course I'm a genius. Xiao Yezi, you should admire me, understand? I don't want to. You always bully me. When my brother comes back, I'll let him beat you up." He might not be able to beat me." "Impossible." Bai Yi did not believe him. She looked at Su Yu and said anxiously, "Brother Su Yu, don't you think so? Brother Junsheng can't beat my brother, right?" Su Yu smiled and nodded. "Of course. He can win in one move. There's no comparison." Bai Junsheng was depressed. How could he be so weak? But when he thought about it, Bai Feng seemed to really have the ability, which made him even more depressed. When Bai Yi heard this, she was very excited and began to ask questions. She was not unfamiliar with Su Yu and acted as if they were close. Perhaps she felt that this was her brother's student, which meant that she was one of them. Furthermore, when she talked too much, she kept asking questions. Su Yu also smiled and replied a few sentences. At this moment, he vaguely understood why Bai Feng didn't return home. His parents were both present at home, and he had a younger sister. As for him, he had joined the Great Xia Manor's Many Divine Languages department. Even if Bai Feng didn't know about that invincible existence in the dark, he also knew that after fighting against the single Divine Languages department for so many years, a battle might erupt sooner or later. In this way, it would be inappropriate to involve his family. He had returned once in 10 years. The Bai family might have already become indifferent and distant from him. Perhaps in Bai Feng's opinion, this was also the result he wanted. Bai Feng's parents had a daughter. Perhaps they would not miss their son so much anymore. Su Yu took a light breath. Perhaps, he should not have come to visit. After this, it was better for him to be a little estranged from the Bai family. After chatting for a while, Bai Junsheng brought Su Yu to the backyard. As they walked, he said, "Second uncle seems to be on duty today. My father should be at home. I'll bring you to see my father." Bai Yi, who was like a follower, hurriedly said, "My father knows that brother Su Yu is here. He will definitely come back. I'll go and call him. There's no need to bother him." Su Yu smiled and said, "There's no need to trouble yourself. Xiao Yezi, if there's a chance next time, I will see General Bai again." "Oh. All right then." Bai Yi felt a little regretful. Very quickly, she regained her smile and hurriedly said, "Brother Su Yu, then did my brother find a sister-in-law for me?" "Sister-in-law?" Su Yu thought for a moment and shook his head. "Find my A**s." Bai Feng did not step out of the main door. Where would there be a sister-in-law? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1303. 1303 Chapter 306, Yin and Yang Dual Orifices, 2. In his memory, Bai Feng had never talked to any woman. No, he should have talked to Wuxia. However, Bai Feng might have been beaten up before, so he didn't have a good tone when mentioning Wuxia. No. That's too bad. I still want to see sister-in-law. Brother Junsheng is also a bachelor. How can you talk like that? Bai Junsheng said unhappily, "I'm still young. Sooner or later, I'll find you 8 or 10 sisters-in-law. What's the rush?" While they were chatting and laughing, someone had already reported to Boss Bai. Su Yu had come to visit. Very quickly, a guard came to report in a low voice. Boss Bai was waiting in the living room. The few of them walked towards the living room. In the living room, Boss Bai didn't look old, but he looked a little majestic. He had the strength of a 9th-level Ling Yun and was once a major general of the Heaven Dao army. A few years ago, he had just been transferred back from the front lines. Now, he was the deputy commander of the government army, the Daming government army. 100,000 people were unified to lead the Mountain Sea realm. The deputy commanders included the Mountain Sea realm and Ling Yun. Bai Feng's father was also in the Mansion army. He was only a major general, which was considered a real job. Boss Bai was considered an empty job. He spent most of his time at home, so he didn't have to go to the Mansion army. At this moment, Bai Zhani looked outside. He thought of many things and fell into deep thought. A moment later, he heard footsteps and gently exhaled, returning to normal. That nephew of his had taken in an incredible student in the Great Xia manner. In the next moment, Su Yu followed Bai Junsheng into the house. The moment he saw Su Yu, Bai Zhani felt as if he had seen Bai Feng back then. His white clothes were as white as snow, and his face always had a faint smile. He was refined, which was extremely rare in the Bai family. Even if Bai Junsheng liked to learn from Bai Feng, he wouldn't be able to learn from him. Instead, he was a bit of a ruffian. As for Su Yu, at first glance, one could tell that he was a refined scholar. However, Bai Zhani knew that this wasn't a refined scholar. This fellow had killed quite a number of people. Along the way, he had experienced storms no less than anyone else. Student Su Yu pays his respects to General Bai. In his days, Bai Zhani woke up and smiled. Don't stand on ceremony. Sit down and chat. You are Xiao Feng's student. Your relationship with the Bai family is unbreakable. After saying that, Bai Zhani looked at Su Yu and said, "These few days, you came to the Great Ming Mansion. You were busy, and we were busy, so we didn't send anyone to look for you. We didn't want to delay you." Su Yu hurriedly said, "I should have come to visit General Bai earlier. Cut the formalities." Bai Zhani smiled and pressed his hand, indicating for him to sit down. He said, "Our Bai family, a warrior family, doesn't have so many formalities." He looked at Su Yu, very quickly, he said, I know that you are studying the matter of the primordial spirit aperture. A few days ago, the manor head also summoned me and mentioned this matter. However, the Bai family indeed did not possess any primordial spirit aperture. Otherwise, it would have long been handed over to the manor head. The ancestor did leave behind some documents, but they have nothing to do with the primordial spirit aperture. From the beginning to the end, he did not mention this. These documents were also seen by some experts. Otherwise, the Bai family would not be able to rest in peace. Su Yu nodded. This was inevitable. 9 levels of Ling Yun killed 7 levels of the mountain and sea realm. After Bai Tianhao's death, there were probably many people who came to look at these things. Su Yu didn't expect Boss Bai to come straight to the point. Since that was the case, he stopped being polite, he smiled and said, General Bai, I admire Senior Bai Tianhao very much. I have also guessed whether Senior Bai has mastered the primordial spirit aperture. Of course, there might not be any information left behind. Sometimes, it might be an accidental burst of power that leaves nothing behind. Bai Zhani nodded. This was very likely. A sudden burst of power, encountering a powerful enemy, and a life-and-death crisis, he had some enlightenment. Naturally, he did not have the chance to leave these things behind. He was already dead. Bai Zhani did not bother to be polite with Su Yu. He directly said, some of the things left behind by the ancestor are in the library at home. If you want to take a look, you can do so at any time. After saying that, he paused for a moment and said, regarding your teacher and Bai Feng, I heard that you have asked Manor Head Niu and the others to allow Bai Feng to return to the Great Ming Mansion. This matter has really caught your attention. After saying that, he suddenly sighed and said, however, the possibility of him returning isn't high. Su Yu was stunned for a moment. Not high. What did he mean? In the next moment, he seemed to have thought of something. Indeed. Bai Zhani sighed. Hong Tan has come out of seclusion. It's still fine if he hasn't come out yet. But now. It's troublesome. He fell into the whirlpool again. With Bai Feng's character, he knew that even if he was prepared to return to the Great Ming Mansion, he wouldn't come back now. Su Yu fell silent. After a long while, he said in a low voice, Teacher can't be of much help. I think it's better to come to the Great Ming Mansion. If you think so, he might not think so. Bai Zhani shook his head and said, although he doesn't follow the path of the Bai clan's warrior, he has the temperament of a warrior. At a critical moment, he won't leave Hong Tan, even if he knows that there's a mountain of knives and a sea of fire ahead. Su Yu fell silent again. This might indeed be Bai Feng's choice. If Grandmaster didn't come out of seclusion, he might come to Daming Manor. However, Grandmaster came out of seclusion, and now he was even more troubled. With Bai Feng's personality, should he go to the Great Xia Manor or come to Daming Manor? Su Yu thought for a moment and quickly came up with an answer, the Great Xia Mansion. Bai Zhani sighed and stopped talking about this. Soon, he said, let's not talk about him anymore. This kid has already had his own ideas since he was very young. In the past, he was determined to go to the Great Xia Mansion, the Great Xia Civilization Academy, and chase after the footsteps of the 5th generation. He could not be persuaded, and now, there is no way to persuade him. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1304 1304 Chapter 306, Yin and Yang Dual Orifices, 3. You are his student. I only hope that, you can take care of him a little more in the future. Although your teacher is your teacher, he may not be as mature as you. He hasn't suffered too much since he was young. Bai Zhani said a few words and very quickly, he said, let's not waste your time chatting. Junsheng, bring Su Yu to the library to take a look. If there is any useful information, you can bring it back and look at it. Just leave a copy of the rubbings. Thank you, General Bai. Su Yu thanked him. He did not expect it to be so easy. Bai Zhani did not even say a few words and directly revealed the information to him. Su Yu wanted to say that he had exchanged it with something, but at this moment, he was too embarrassed to say anything. Forget it, I'll give it to Bai Junqing later. After leaving the living room, Su Yu followed Bai Junqing to the Bai family's library. After walking for a while, he said, "My master, why did he think of going to the great Xia manor in the past? I feel that he doesn't worship the fifth generation that much." Bai Junqing chuckled and said, "My cousin doesn't worship the fifth generation. He was actually attracted by the glory, power, mystery, and decline of the multiple divine languages. The Great Ming Mansion has some records of the stories of Senior Lu Wenyan and the others, but the Great Xia Mansion doesn't have many records. From glory to the end, the fifth generation was able to kill unrivaled in the past, and Senior Lu Wenyan was in high spirits in the past. All of these were pursued by my cousin. To put it bluntly, he is very arrogant. Maybe he thinks he can change something." Bai Yi said angrily, "Don't talk about my brother like that. He is not arrogant. You little girl, what do you know? Go away. Don't follow us. Don't interrupt when the Lord is talking." Bai Junqing grabbed her braids and was about to push her away. Bai Yi bared her fangs and brandished her claws. She said angrily, "When I finish Kai Yuan and enter Qianjun, I will definitely give you a good beating. Come on, you still want to beat me up Qianjun? Qianjun, I am already in the mountains and seas." Bai Junqing laughed and said, "You have already opened one of your apertures. If you want your Yuan opening to end, wait another 5 or 6 years. Maybe you can succeed in Yuan opening at the age of 15. That would be considered a genius." Bai Yi was instantly depressed as she said gloomily, "Yuan opening is really annoying." Su Yu's eyes moved slightly as he suddenly sent a voice transmission to Bai Junqing, "Does the Bai family support Bai Ye's cultivation?" Bai Junqing was stunned for a moment, and he also sent a voice transmission, "Why not? We are a warrior family, don't we cultivate? What I mean is, if we help her achieve Yuan opening now, will it delay the Bai family's teaching process?" Bai Junqing was stunned for a moment, and in the next moment, he thought of something and said excitedly, "Heaven origin fruit. That's right. This fellow, Su Yu, was highly valued by the manor head. Perhaps he could ask for a heaven origin fruit." The moment he shouted it out, Bai Yi asked curiously, "Heaven origin fruit? Brother Junqing, why are you saying this? Do you have it? Did you win it from the ninth prince? You've beaten him many times, but you still haven't won this. Why don't you go beat him up again?" Su Yu was stunned for a moment. Bai Junqing often beat up Zhu Hongliang. Could it be that this little girl instigated him just to beat him up for a heaven origin fruit? Bai Junqing was embarrassed. Su Yu could not help but laugh. Since the Bai family supported Bai Ye's cultivation, there was no need to think about it. After thinking for a moment, he said, "I have a heaven origin fruit over there. It was given to me by Manor Head. I don't need this either. If Bai Yi needs it, I'll get someone to send it over later." When he said this, Bai Yi was pleasantly surprised. "Brother Su Yu, really?" Bai Junqing scratched his head and said with a dry smile, "It's too precious. Manor Head doesn't have much either. It's a gift for you, but for you to give it to Bai Yi, it's a waste. This girl's talent feels so. You're the one who's so." Bai Yi was a little excited but also a little embarrassed. She said timidly, "That's very precious. How about? I'll forget about it." She wanted it, but she also knew that this was very precious. Su Yu smiled and said, "It's fine. I don't need that. It's a waste to leave it here. I'll get someone to send it over later." He didn't say anything else and didn't give them a chance to reply. At this moment, they had already arrived at the library. The moment Su Yu entered the library, he saw those books. There weren't many books in the Bai family's library. One of them was a bookshelf. The books and animal skins on it had already turned yellow. These were products from that era. As for the words of will, jade talismans, and the like, they were all created by later humans. During the founding era, books or animal skins were used to record some information. Bai Junsheng saw that he was staring at those things and did not say anything. He smiled and said, "Then you can stay here and read. We won't disturb you." "Ian, thank you." Bai Junsheng was still tactful. He dragged Bai Yi and left. Soon, only Su Yu was left in the library. Su Yu didn't waste any time. He went forward, picked up a book, and started reading it. At the same time, Bai Zhani walked to the door of a secret room, knocked on the door, and waited for a while. The door of the secret room opened. In the secret room, an old man was sitting cross-legged cultivating. He coughed and said, "What's the matter?" "Father." Bai Zhani said respectfully, "Someone came to borrow the ancestors' information. Just show it to them." "No, that person is Xiao Feng's student and also a genius in the field of research." Bai Zhani briefly introduced the situation and quickly said, "He also has some research in the field of primordial spirit aperture." "Father, you said." The old man was silent for a moment. Primordial spirit aperture, this is something that harms people. Use it and you'll die. It's not as simple as they thought. If you don't reach a dead end, using this is a dead end. Don't talk about using it, even if you open it, there's an 80 to 90% chance that you'll cripple yourself. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1305. 1305 Chapter 306, Yin and Yang Dual Orifices, Monthly Subscription, 4. Su Yu might be a little different. He has more orifices than our ancestors. After saying that, Bai Zhani hesitated and said, "Father, your injuries are too serious. Su Yu might be able to research something. If he really has some results, he might be able to cure father. This way, the Bai family will have enough confidence to deal with some crises." The old man said in a deep voice, "Bai Feng, that brat, is causing trouble again. It's not Xiao Feng, it's Hong Tan. Hong Tan has come out of seclusion and entered the Sun-Moon realm. He wants to reopen the Multidivine Literature Academy. Not only that, he even invented the splitting method. I suspect it's not Hong Tan, but Xiao Feng. He defeated Xia Yuan of the Xia family with this." The old man fell silent again and sighed. "This unfilial son of the Bai family wants to cause trouble for us. If this continues, the Bai family will be dragged into the mire sooner or later. Xiao Feng hasn't returned for many years." Bai Zhani sighed and said, "He knows that he has caused trouble, so he wants to break off this relationship. However, as a family, how could it be so easy to break it off? Right now, the only thing the Bai clan can do is to ignore it. The Bai clan is too weak and cannot participate. Father is injured, and we don't even have a mountain and sea. Second brother may not say it, but his heart is depressed. Over the years, he has become more and more silent." The old man sighed, "If we stay in Daming Prefecture, then we'll be fine. Once we leave Daming Prefecture and get involved, it won't protect us anymore. If we're not careful, then it'll be a disaster." In fact, the Bai clan has been keeping an eye on quite a few people. Even after so many years, not everyone has given up on the patriarch's outburst. "Father, what about Su Yu's side?" The old man pondered for a moment, then, he said, "The patriarch actually didn't leave anything behind. He only said that the acupoints had been broken in the past, but now that they have been reunited and the heart of the acupoints has been restored, they need to be broken and reassembled again. I've tried a few times, but now that the acupoints have been broken and I'm heavily injured, it's easy to die if I try recklessly. Should I tell Su Yu then?" The old man was silent for a moment before he hesitated. If I try recklessly, I will die without a doubt. These young people are impatient. He might be different. The old man was silent again for a long time. He nodded and said, "Then go ahead. Don't say it directly. Just leave some clues. He has discovered it himself and made his own choice. The primordial spirit aperture, the heart of the apertures, what the old ancestor said and what he wants might not be the same thing." "I got it." Baizhani said one sentence and quickly said, "Father, if Suyu can really find the primordial spirit aperture he mentioned, will it be helpful to your injuries?" "It depends on the situation. See if he can find a stable way to open it. Otherwise, it won't be of much use." "Understood." Baizhani did not say anything more and quickly left the secret chamber. The door to the secret chamber closed once again. At the same time, Suyu was also flipping through some manuscripts and some information. Bai Tianhao should have opened about 270 essence openings. Suyu saw an essence aperture diagram. He had opened many of them, and this essence aperture diagram was rather monotonous. It looked like a random dot, but after Suyu compared it, he quickly discovered that it was different. This was an essence aperture diagram. It wasn't just the origin aperture diagram. The most crucial point was that this origin aperture diagram had actually opened a special aperture. Glabella acupoint. This aperture was extremely special. Suyu had also opened it through the cultivation technique of the incipient demon clan. If he tried it himself, it would be very difficult to open it without a large group of people dying. He hadn't expected that Bai Tianhao would actually open it. If that's the case, it makes sense. He might have opened some special apertures and discovered something. However, Suyu had opened more apertures, so he didn't discover anything. There might be something he didn't know. Suyu continued to read. Just as he was reading, Bai Junsheng suddenly entered the room with a book in his hand. "I forgot. A few days ago, I took a copy of the Ancestor's Manual here. Take a look and see if you need it." Suyu nodded slightly and took the book. Bai Junsheng smiled and said, "Then you continue. I'm leaving first." As he said that, he left. Suyu did not stop him. He flipped through the book. After taking a look, he was slightly stunned. His acupuncture points were broken. He saw a sentence that seemed to be annotated by someone. He flipped through the book again. This time, Suyu read it particularly carefully. He frowned slightly, and many thoughts flashed through his mind. This record recorded that when Bai Tianhao was young, he had suffered a relatively serious injury that caused his acupuncture points to be broken. The acupuncture points were mixed together, causing him to spend 7 to 8 years recuperating. At the same time, some of the experts had entered the mountains and seas. He was still Ling Yun, which was related to this injury. Not long after his injury recovered, the battle that was recorded in the annals of history erupted. Ling Yun killed the mountains and seas. The acupuncture points are shattered, restored. Many thoughts rose up in Suyu's mind. He recalled the conversation he had with Hu Qiusheng and the others back at the Great Xia Mansion. A human's aperture could have been a complete one. However, it shattered. Therefore, for a human to become strong, from weak to strong, it was a process of opening and closing one's aperture. Finally, when one reached the Sun and Moon realm, all 100 apertures would become one, turning into the Sun and Moon divine aperture. There was only one aperture in the Sun and Moon realm. This was a process of restoration. And the primordial spirit aperture might be the central point. Aperture ruptured. Suyu continued reading. There were some annotations on it that had been around for some years. It seemed to have been annotated by a descendant of the Bai family. When he saw the annotations, he was slightly stunned. Someone from the Bai family had tried it before.